are available online. Estonians vote online. Estonians file their taxes online in an average of 3 minutes. In 2019, Estonia published its CRAFT, Artificial Intelligence Strategy. Estonia has produced around 10 technology unicorns, including Skype, Wise, Boat, and Pipedrive. About 10 unicorns from 1.3 million people. The lesson is that the size of an economy or country matters less than the seriousness of its institutional commitment. Switzerland is ranked one of the top 10 global hubs of the fourth industrial revolution patents per capita. Its highly digitized financial services, robust academic institutions, and high technology-driven manufacturing sector account for the prime position in the fourth industrial revolution ranking of nations. The most uncomfortable comparison for our purposes is Rwanda, an African country of about 14 million people, recovering from a genocide that ended in 1994, and with a gross domestic product per capita lower than that of Nigeria. Rwanda has since pursued a deliberate technology-driven development strategy. In 2021, the government of Rwanda signed an agreement with Kenje Mellon University to establish Kenje Mellon University Africa in Kigali. The campus is now the anchor institution of Kigali Innovation City, a $300 million public-private development on 62 hectares of land in Kigali's Special Economic Zone, developed by Africa 50 and the Rwanda Development Board. Kigali Innovation City brings together, on one side, Kenji Mellon University Africa, the African Leadership University, the University of Rwanda Center for Biomedical Engineering, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, and the pharmaceutical manufacturer, Cooper Pharma. The development is projected to create 50,000 jobs, generate $150 million in annual ICT exports, and produce about 2.6 million graduates each year. Alongside, it sees the Rwanda Digital Acceleration Project, a $200 million initiative co-financed by World Bank and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It is remarkable that Rwanda, a country of just 14 million people, post-genocide, with lower per capita income than Nigeria, has built what Nigeria has not built in 65 years. It should be clear that the missing ingredient is neither money nor talent. If anything, the missing ingredient is institutional discipline, sustained over time. Here are other examples. China launched its National AI Development Plan in 2017 with the declared objective of becoming the global leader in artificial intelligence by 2030, and has since invested hundreds of billions of dollars in semiconductor manufacturing. AI research centers at universities such as Tsinghua and Peking, a national network of AI industrial parks. India published its national strategy for artificial intelligence in 2018, and building on decades of investment in information technology, now sustains one of the most consequential technology services industries on earth, and technological services industries on earth, employing over 5 million people directly and contributing nearly 9% of Indian gross domestic product, with a talent pipeline in which the Indian Institute of Technology play a central role. By the most recent count, more than 60 countries have published national artificial intelligence strategies. Institutions such as the Brookings institutions, they maintain public inventories and comparative analysis of dozens of the most developed of them. Our country's own national artificial intelligence strategy, developed under the leadership of the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, and the National Information Technology Development Agency, was finalized in September last year. We are not the first, nor are we even early. Indeed, we are entering a global race that has been underway for nearly a decade. The World Economic Forum has argued that an investment equivalent to half of 1% of global gross domestic product directed into adult lifelong learning could add about $6.5 trillion to global gross domestic product by 2030. A complementary investment in future-ready school-level education could add a further $2.5 trillion over the same period. The countries that make that investment will capture a disproportionate share of the return. The countries that do not will discover somewhere around 2032 that the gap between themselves and the leaders has widened into something resembling permanence. But the question is, what universities of technology have done elsewhere? The countries I've just mentioned in my examples did not transform themselves by government effort alone. In every case, a small number of universities of technology stood at the center of the transformation, functioning as the institutional engine that converted national strategy into economic outcome. This is the part of the story most relevant to this distinguished audience. Stanford University remains the most studied case in modern economic history. In 2012, Stanford professors Charles Esley and William Miller completed a systematic survey of the economic impact of Stanford alumni and faculty. Their study established that companies founded by Stanford graduates generate $2.7 trillion in annual world revenues and have created 5.4 million jobs since the 1930s. The companies include Google, Hewlett-Packard, Cisco Systems, Sun Microsystems, Yahoo, Netflix, Nike, and Gap. The university that produced these companies was in 1900 a regional institution in a state that depended on the eastern United States for almost all of its industrial equipment. How did Stanford make the journey? By building an institution. The good news is that it is replicable. In the early decades of the 20th century, Stanford's leadership made a deliberate decision to organize the university as a producer of firms, as well as a producer of graduates. Frederick Terman, Dean of Engineering in the 1940s and 1950s, pioneered the practice of appointing senior engineers from local industries as adjunct professors, so that students learn from people who were actively building the technologies they were being taught. In 1970, Stanford established the Office of Technology Licensing, which became the model for technology transfer office worldwide. The original lesson is what scholars now describe as the entrepreneurial university model. Stanford and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology committed to an endogenous strategy of encouraging firm formation from academic knowledge. The university saw its role as the production of companies and technologies and the human capital required to staff them. This lesson is not American. Rather, it is institutional. The same model has been reproduced in Israel, in South Korea, in Taiwan, in Singapore, and most recently, and most relevantly for us, in Rwanda. Carnegie Mellon University Africa, established in Kigali in 2011, operates a deliberate university industry-government collaboration. The Rwanda government provides land, infrastructure, and substantial portion of the operating budget. Carnegie Mellon provides the curriculum, faculty quality standards, and global brand. Private firms based at Kigali Innovation City provides internship, applied research challenges, and graduate employment. Over 90% of CMU Africa graduates either start their own businesses or work in their home countries. The CMU Africa Innovation Hub runs a 12-month incubation program, providing up to $50,000 in seed funding per startup. This is such a complete pipeline for student admission through global standard education, through seed funding, through industry placement, and through commercial scale. The Indian Institute of Technology, established in 1951, admits fewer than 17,000 students out of more than 1 million who sit the entrance examination each year. Their graduates have founded or led Sun Microsystems, Flipkart, Infosys, Snapdeal, and formed a substantial fraction of the senior engineering ranks at Google, Microsoft, and IBM. The Technion in Israel, founded in 1912, is the institutional engine behind an Israeli technology industry that has produced over 100 companies traded on the NASDAQ, including Mobileye, which was sold to Intel for $15 billion in 2017, and was sold to Google for over $1 billion in 2013. Across all of these institutions, we observe the same pattern. They were established with a specific national technological mandate. They were funded, governed, and staffed in many ways that allowed them to fulfill that mandate over multiple decades. They integrated themselves structurally with industry, with government, and with international research networks. The University of Technology that successfully drives national transformation is structured around 5 operating principles. First, its curriculum is updated continuously to reflect the frontier of the technologies it teaches. Second, its faculty includes practitioners drawn from industry alongside career academics. Third, its research agenda is shaped by problems with commercial application alongside problems of purely academic interest. Fourth, its students are taught to build firms, write codes, file patents, and raise capital alongside being taught to write. It is not only by teaching them how to write theses, but also how to build firms, write codes, file patents, and raise capital so that they will be able to establish themselves. The fifth principle, the institution operates in structural partnership with government and with industry, so that the boundary between the campus and the economy is porous in both directions. The 5 principles are what FUTO must now adopt, and what FUTO is uniquely positioned to adopt. In the remaining part of this lecture, I will seek to translate them into specific changes in curriculum, changes in staffing, changes in research and governance that a University of Technology like FUTO can bring to make at this time. Where Nigerian universities of technology stand, I now turn the lens on ourselves. The federal government of Nigeria established 4 federal universities of technology in 1980 as part of a deliberate national effort to close the technology gap between us and the other nations. These were the Federal University of Technology, Akure, the Federal University of Technology, Minna, the Modibo Adamawa University of Technology, Yola, and the institution that hosts us today, the Federal University of Technology, Owerri. Several other states and private universities of technology have since joined the list, including the Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna, the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomosho, the Enugu State University of Science and Technology, Bells University of Technology, Ota, and the Kano State University of Science and Technology, close to home. My administration has established the Imo State University of Innovation, Science and Technology at Omoma. It is the youngest of these institutions, and it is one to watch. We have structured it from inception around active international collaboration, including a working partnership with University of California, Berkeley, one of the world's leading technology innovation hubs. The Omoma institution is still in its formative stage, but the design intent is lucid, and the early returns are promising. Together, these institutions represent the institutional infrastructure through which Nigeria responds to the 4th Industrial Revolution, and which will be largely delivered. Let me begin it right here. which is with that. I want to start the discussion and the proposal with Federal University of Technology. The federal government has designated FUTO as a principal beneficiary of its 48 billion naira intervention fund for engineering upgrades. FUTO has entered a strategic partnership with Amazon Incorporated to establish the FUTO AWS Academy. In June of last year, the institution received a substantial donation of digital network switches and access point from Cisco Systems and the InterSwitch. FUTO is home to the Center of Excellence in Sustainable Procurement, Environment and Social Standards, funded by the World Bank. The Federal Medical Center, Owerri, was upgraded and renamed in 2023 to become the Federal University Teaching Hospital, Owerri, expanding FUTO's reach into clinical medical education. These are real achievements, and I want to credit this to Professor Nenna Oti, whose tenure concludes on the 18th of June, for the consistency which she had positioned FUTO to attract partnerships of this caliber. I credit the Governing Council, chaired by Senator Jack Tiligado, for the institutional discipline that selected Professor I.N.S. Dozier as the 9th substantive Vice Chancellor following a rigorous and yet seamless process. FUTO is not the only institution making progress. Across our universities of technology, we see new engineering workshops, new laboratories, new digital skill programs, and an expanding network of partnership with global technology firms. The system is not standing still. I now turn to the harder part of the diagnosis, the gap between what our universities of technology have done and what they must do, which is very large and is widening by the day. The 5 operating principles I named at the close of the previous section are not yet present in any Nigerian University of Technology in a structurally embedded form. They are present in fragments in the energy of individual professors and students operating in many cases against the institutional grain rather than with its support. Fifth, curriculum currency. The frontier of the technologies that the fourth industrial revolution is built on moves at a velocity that traditional curriculum approval processes cannot match. A new development in large language models that emerged at the end of 2024 was being taught in graduate seminars at Stanford within 4 months of its release. The same state development 18 months later is still working its way through curriculum approval pipelines in most Nigerian universities of technology. Second, faculty composition. The Frederick Terman model of appointing senior practicing engineers as adjunct professors is standard at every leading technical university in the world. It is the exception rather than the rule in our own universities of technology. The result is that students often learn from professors whose last engagement with the working application of their field was a decade or more in the past. Third, research orientation. The dominant research culture in Nigerian universities of technology is oriented towards academic publication for promotion. The work being done in this mode is honorable, but I do not dismiss it. The difficulty is that the research remains largely disconnected from the commercial and developmental problems the surrounding economy needs solved. Fourth, the entrepreneurial pipeline. There is no Office of Technology Licensing in any Nigerian University of Technology that plays the role of Stanford office, which Stanford played when it earned $336 million from licensing Google alone. There is no CMU Africa-style innovation hall built into our universities of technology. Students who graduate with genuinely innovative ideas have to seek capital, mentorship, and infrastructure outside the institution that produced them. Fifth, the structural partnership with industry and government. The partnerships our universities of technology have signed are episodic. A structural partnership is one in which the firm has a permanent presence on the campus, in which staff are seconded in both directions, and in which the relationship is sustained across multiple leadership circles on both sides. There are structural realities that compound these gaps. Funding for federal universities, while improving, remains below the level required to sustain a serious research enterprise at a global standard. The brain drain that took shape in the 2010s and accelerated through 2020s has stripped many departments of these most talented mid-career academics. Infrastructure failure, particularly in power supply, continue to disrupt the kind of sustained experimental and computational work that frontier research requires. The remuneration of structure of Nigerian academia is not yet competitive with what the same talent commands in the industry, even within Nigeria itself. There is yet one final reality I must note, because it sees beneath all the others. Nigeria has produced and continue to produce individual technologists and innovators of world rank. I think of Professor Bartholomew Nnaji, an expert in computerized architecture, robotics, and information technology, who became the first Black person in American history to be bestowed with the title of Distinguished Professor of Engineering, the first African to direct the United States National Science Foundation Center for Scientific Excellence. I think of Cyprian Emeka Ozo, who holds over 350 patents in semiconductor technology, the pioneer of modern copper interconnection technology that made the higher performance integrated circuit possible. There is also the case of Dr. Samuel Achifu, who pioneered the development of wearable cancer viewing goggles, which help surgeons to accurately remove cancer cells, and the case of Dr. Wendy Okolo, an aerospace research engineer at NASA in the United States, who was recently recognized for her work in monitoring health systems. These examples are all Nigerians and are children of our land, the Southeast. They did their world-changing work in institutions other than ours. I'm aware that there are many more young Nigerians who have been credited with groundbreaking innovations and discoveries. But the fact that these breakthroughs occur in the diaspora is a cause for worry. It is often argued that these men and women would not have recorded the breakthroughs if they had stayed back here. But this is not quite the case, with opportunities inherent in the Fourth Industrial Revolution. First, I would like to share the story of two young Nigerians, Felix Ifeanyi Ike and Tosin Enororonda, who founded the premier financial technology unicorn known as MoneyPoint. Today, MoneyPoint, which was founded in Lagos in 2015, is a household name and is valued at over $1 billion. There are countless examples of such tech startups, which were founded right here in Nigeria. For example, the Paystack, a fintech company, was co-founded in 2015 by Shola Akinlade and Ezra Olubi, both alumni of Babcock University. In 2020, Paystack was acquired by Stripe, an American company, for $200 million. Cent Finance, Africa's first decentralized finance platform, was co-founded in Enugu by Ugochukwu Aaron and Chima Abaf in 2019. These young graduates made headlines when they attracted $2 million from angel investors and venture capitalists. Thus, in the case of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, it is obvious that the raw human capital is here and there. The institutional capacity to retain and deploy that human capital here on Nigerian soil, in Nigerian universities of technology, is what we have not yet built. The next Cyprian Ozo, Felix Ike, Shola Akinlade, Ezra Olubi, Wendy Okolo, and Samuel Echefu are sitting somewhere in this hall today or in various classrooms across the country. Whether they do their work here or elsewhere will be decided by what we choose to build in the next decade. What must change, and that is what I'm bringing now as a prescription. The 5 operating principles are named in the 4th section are the architecture for what follows and what I will take each of them in turns. The curriculum currency. The National University Commission, in coordination with the universities themselves, must establish an accelerated curriculum review track for emerging technology programs with a target turnaround of not more than 6 months between proposal and approval. Every Nigerian University of Technology should adopt a minimum standard requiring that 10% of contact hours in any engineering or computing program be delivered through industry-led modules, updated annually, taught by practitioners from firms operating in the relevant fields. Every Nigerian University of Technology should mandate as a graduation requirement for engineering and computing students demonstrated competence in at least 1/4 Industrial Revolution technology certified by a recognized industry credential. Existing partnerships such as FUTO, AWS, Academy, provide the infrastructure on which this can be built. The question in each institution is whether such partnerships are allowed to remain pilots or are scaled into standard components of engineering and computing degree. The faculty composition. The federal government, working with the National University Commission, should establish a formal adjunct industry professor framework with terms designed to attract senior practitioners from industry, including Nigerians working in technology firms abroad. Because what we are talking about, the 4th industrial revolution, when it is being taught, students must have a practical idea of what these lectures are all about. The framework should permit appointments of 3 to 12 months per academic year on terms that allow the appointee to retain their primary industry role. Nigerian universities of technology should actively recruit from the Nigerian technology diaspora. There are several thousand senior Nigerian engineers and researchers working in leading technology firms in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Canada, UAE, and across Europe. A significant fraction would respond to a structured invitation to spend 1 term or 1 academic year teaching and conducting joint research at a Nigerian University of Technology. Imo State government will be prepared to support Federal University of Technology Owerri in the establishment of such a program, including through co-funding of accommodation and administrative infrastructure required. The next item is the research orientation. Every Nigerian University of Technology should establish a formal translational research office charged with identifying research that has commercial application, supporting the patenting and licensing of that research, and connecting research teams to industry partners and venture capital. The National University Commission, in coordination with the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, should establish a translational research grant scheme distinct from the standard academic research grant, designed to fund research projects with a named industry partner and a defined pathway to application. Each Nigerian University of Technology should identify 3 to 5 flagship research priorities aligned with the developmental problems of the region it serves, and concentrate research resources around those priorities for sustained periods of 7 to 10 years. For a University of Technology in the Southeast, those priorities might include applied artificial intelligence for agricultural productivity, distributed energy systems for communities not yet served by the national grid, cybersecurity for African financial services platforms, and applied biotechnology for tropical disease research. The principle is concentration. Spreading research efforts thinly across hundreds of fragmented topics produces fragments. Concentrating on it produces breakthroughs. The entrepreneurial pipeline. This is, in my view, the single most reform opportunity available to Nigerian universities of technology. And I will again use FUTO as an example. A serious entrepreneurial pipeline has 4 components: a technology licensing office, an on-campus incubator, a seed funding mechanism, and a structured pipeline from the incubator into the wider venture capital ecosystem. The resources required for a credible first phase are not prohibitive. A modest fiscal incubator space of 20,000 to 30,000 square feet with reliable power and broadband, a managing director with experience in both academic and commercial environments, a small mentor pool drawn from the Nigerian technology diaspora and from industry partners, a first stage seed money of $1 to $2 million deployable in tranches of 50,000 to 100,000 US dollars per venture. Imo State will commit as a matter of immediate undertaking from this podium to supporting the establishment of such a pipeline here in FUTO. I'll direct my Commissioner for Digital Economy and E-Government to engage with the incoming Vice Chancellor on the structure of that support within the first 90 days of his tenure. Structural partnership with industry and government. A structural partnership has 3 components: a permanent industry presence or on, adjacent to campus, a 2-way secondment program between university faculty and industry researchers, and a joint research roadmap aligned over 5 to 10-year horizon. Every Nigerian University of Technology should work towards such partnership in its own context. Here in Imo State, FUTO has a spatial footprint to build something analogous to Kigali Innovation City. The institutions occupied a substantial land area here in Owerri West. The state government can and will work with the federal government and the institution to develop a dedicated technology park on or adjacent to FUTO campus, anchored by the university with service sites for industry tenants, integrated power supply from the Orash infrastructure, and the broadband connectivity at international standard. The vision is specific and implementable within a single political circle if the institutional commitment is sustained. The architecture I have set out is not a wish list, but a program of which every element has been implemented somewhere in the world, often in countries with fewer resources and less talented than Nigeria possesses. The question before our universities of technology, beginning with FUTO and extending to its peers, is not whether the program can be implemented. The question is whether it will be. I now turn to the responsibilities of government, federal government, and state in creating the conditions under which the program can succeed. The government responsibility, federal and state. I have spoken candidly about what universities of technology must do. Honesty now requires me to speak with equal candor about what governments, federal and state, must do to create the condition under which that institutional transformation becomes possible. The government cannot transform a university from the outside. Government can, however, make the transformation either feasible or impossible, depending on whether the policy environment is aligned or hostile. Let me begin with what the federal government, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is already doing. The record matters because the prescription I have offered in this lecture sits within a federal policy environment that is, in many respects, moving in the right direction. Nigeria's National Artificial Intelligence Strategy, developed under the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, and the National Information Technology Development Agency, was finalized in September last year. It sets ambitious targets for AI literacy among young Nigerians by 2030 for indigenous AI startups to contribute meaningfully to national output and for the deployment of AI across priority sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, security, and smart cities. It establishes a governance framework anchored by a ministerial committee chaired by the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation, and Digital Economy. The strategy is a serious document. Its implementation is the test that lies ahead. Alongside the AI strategy, sees 3 million technical talent program launched in December 2023 as a flagship of the Renewed Hope agenda. Its first phase has already trained 10,000 of Nigerians across all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, with subsequent phases structured to reach millions more. Its advanced track focuses on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. Microsoft, through its AI skilling commitments, has also pledged large-scale training for Nigerians under its current program. The Federal Ministry of Education, under the leadership of Dr. Maruf Tunji Alhausa, has launched a technical and vocational education and training initiative supported by the World Bank's Innovation Development and Effectiveness in the Acquisition of Skills project, known as IDEAS. The program aims to train close to 1 million young Nigerians across thousands of centers in high-demand trades, including information and communication technology, welding and fabrication, renewable energy, fashion design, and plumbing. Training is tuition-free, heavily practical, and participants receive stipends and post-training support in the form of starter packs or business grants. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, established under the Students' Loan Assets to Higher Education Act 2024, has begun disbursing hundreds of billions of naira to well over 1 million students across hundreds of tertiary institutions in the country, including FUTO. The loans are interest-free, and repayment commences 2 years after the completion of the National Youth Service Program. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, deserves to be praised for using this loan to create opportunities for students from less privileged backgrounds to receive university education. In addition, prolonged industrial action by the university-based unions, which used to consume entire academic sessions, have been significantly reduced so far under this administration. The federal government's 48 billion naira intervention fund for engineering and the technology upgrades, of which FUTO is a principal beneficiary, is the kind of targeted infrastructure investment that the National University Commission must now scale and replicate across the systems of the Federal Universities of Technology. Recent tax reforms provide new incentives for firms that invest, that expand and retain their workforce, and that raise wages for lower-income workers. The physical environment for early-stage technology firms in Nigeria is more supportive than it has been in many years. This is the federal policy infrastructure on which the prescription I have offered can rest. The federal architecture is in place. The question is whether the universities of technology will use it. I turn now to what state governments must do and to what Imo State is doing. State governments have, until recently, treated federal universities within their borders as institutions over which they had no real operating leverage. That posture is no longer adequate. Federal universities sit on federal land and are funded by federal allocations but they operate within state economies. The state government benefits from what the federal universities produces in graduates, in firms, in research outputs, in the attraction or non-attraction of investment. State government must engage federal universities as economic development partners, providing land, power, security, transport infrastructure, and policy alignment in ways that allow the federal institutions to operate at a higher capacity than federal funding alone can sustain. I am speaking now as a state governor with the premier Federal University of Technology in my state. I commit on behalf of Imo State government to that posture of structured partnership with FUTO. The infrastructure for that partnership is already operational. I repeat, the infrastructure for that partnership is already operational. Imo Digital City Limited. Imo Digital City, headquartered in Owerri, is a public-private partnership in which the Imo State government holds equity alongside private and international partners. It operates the Skill Up Imo program and runs structured startup incubation and acceleration programs with global mentors, investors, pitch infrastructure, and access to follow-on capital. The platform also provides business process outsourcing facilities, innovation hubs, intellectual property awareness, and commercialization services, and digital infrastructure, training in fields such as artificial intelligence and blockchain. Imo Digital City is positioned as a leading tech incubation and acceleration hub in West Africa, with institutional links to Silicon Valley in the United States and to international corporate technology firms. Imo Digital City is not a parallel structure to be navigated. It is a partner platform available for direct integration with this institution. The CMU Africa Innovation Hub model I described earlier, with its structured incubation and seed funding for technology ventures, does not need to be invented from scratch in Imo State. Its functional equivalent already exists. What is required is the structural integration of FUTO's research and entrepreneurship pipeline with the Imo Digital City platform, so that a FUTO student or faculty member with a viable technology venture has a defined pathway from laboratory to incubator to seed funding to commercial scale without leaving Imo State to find any of those resources. The technology park I referenced earlier in this lecture, anchored on or adjacent to FUTO and integrated with Imo Digital City ecosystem, with serviced sites for industry tenants, with the power supply from Orash infrastructure, and with broadband connectivity at international standard, becomes a credible vision, precisely because the Imo Digital City platform already exists to anchor it. The other components of the state's contribution are in place. The Skill Up Imo program has trained over 60,000 young people in digital skills and continues to scale. The Orash power plant delivers round-the-clock electricity to public institutions in our capital and can be extended to support a FUTO-anchored technology park. The Imo Economic and Investment Summit has demonstrated the state's capacity to convene the kind of international investor community that incubator graduates will need to attract follow-on capital. Imo State has ranked by StatSense as having one of the country's lowest poverty rates behind Lagos, which is a marker of the underlying economic stability that any sustained institutional partnership requires. I do not present these as achievements to be applauded. Instead, I present them as the state-level infrastructure that is now available to be deployed in partnership with FUTO, with the National Universities Commission, with the Federal Ministry of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, with the Federal Ministry of Education, and with the international development partners already engaged in this sector. The state has done what it can do unilaterally. The next phase requires institutional partnership of the kind only FUTO and ISPIA institutions can deliver. The federal government has built the policy infrastructure. The state government has built the operational infrastructure. The universities of technology must now build the academic and the research infrastructure that converts policy and operational readiness into economic transformation. The three layers must align, sustained over time, beyond the electoral cycles, beyond the ministerial transitions, beyond the vice chancellor's tenures. That sustained alignment is the work of institutions, and it is the work I am asking FUTO to lead. Now, can we now look at it this way? What is at stake? The consequence of failure, if we fail to ride on this proposition, I have said that what must change and the conditions under which change becomes possible. Honesty now requires me to set out in plain terms what happens if change does not come. A serious convocation lecture cannot end with prescription alone. It must reckon with the cost of failure. In this case, that cost is foreseeable, and it is already accruing. Let me put 4 consequences before you. The first consequence is demographic. Nigeria's median age is about 18 years. By 2050, our population is projected to approach 400 million people, making us the 3rd most populous country in the world. In the right institutional environment, that profile is a democratic dividend. In the wrong environment, it is a demographic liability or a ticking time bomb. If our young people are equipped for an economy that no longer exists, they will graduate into a labor market skills they were taught. Their energy will not disappear. It will instead be redirected into immigration in the best case, into crime and unrest in the worst. The same demographic wave that built South Korea can, without institutional readiness, break as a demographic catastrophe. Global evidence shows that a large share of the skills currently demanded in the labor market will be obsolete in the year 2030. If the curriculum in our universities of technology prepares students for jobs that will not exist when they reach their working prime, the demographic assets becomes a demographic burden. The choice between asset and burden is being made now by the decision we either make or avoid. The second consequence is economic marginalization. Estimates put the potential annual value from artificial intelligence, software, and services in the tens of trillions of US dollars by 2040. That value will not be shared evenly. It will flow to countries that built institutions, trained a workforce, generated research, and housed firms that compete in that arena. The rest will participate only as consumers, paying for products and services they did. Latecomers. Those that missed earlier industrial revolutions spent decades supplying raw materials and importing finished goods. The 4th industrial revolution will follow the same pattern, with one difference. The gap between leaders and laggards will widen and harden faster because these technologies create compounding advantages. A country that is a few years behind in 2026 can find itself a decade behind by early 2030s and effectively locked out soon after. The third consequence is the brain drain made permanent. I have already named some Nigerian technologists or innovators of world rank who did their world-changing work in institutions other than ours. These Nigerians are symbols of a pattern. For decades, the most talented graduates of Nigerian universities of technology have faced a choice between a domestic environment that could not absorb them at the level of their ambition and an international environment that could. The choice has gone largely one way. If we do not change the domestic environment, the choice will continue to go one way and faster. Countries from Canada to the United Kingdom, from United Arab Emirates to Singapore and Saudi Arabia are already running talent attraction programs aimed at young African engineers and scientists. Our best graduates are being recruited, in some cases before they finish their degrees, by institutions abroad that understand their value more clearly than our own economy does. The brain drain of the past was a loss. The brain drain of the future, if we permit it, will be a structural separation between the country that produces the talent and the countries that benefit from it. The young Nigerian engineer who lives Owerri, builds a research career abroad, and then finds a company elsewhere may never return. The intellectual property she generates, the firms she built, the taxes she pays, the people she employs, all of it across to countries that did not invest in her education. Reforming our universities of technology is the only durable answer to that pattern. The fourth consequence is moral. It should weigh most heavily on those of us in positions of leadership. The graduating class before me did not choose the institutional environment in which they were educated. They came because they earned admission. After all, their parents made sacrifices because they trusted that this institution will prepare them for the world they are entering. They have done what was asked of them. They are about to receive their certificates. If the institution that produced them has not equipped them for the economy that awaits them, the failure is not theirs, it is ours. It is failure of those of us who govern, who fund, who lead, and who teach. There is no version of national life in which we can stand before a graduating class year after year, send them into the labor market for which they have not been prepared, and call that acceptable. The compact between a nation and its young people is that the institutions it builds will give them the tools to make a life. When the tools fail to match the life, that compact has been broken. And when the compact is broken on a large enough scale, for long enough, the consequences are not only economic, they are also political, as well as social. They become existential. I'm not predicting any such outcome for Nigeria. I'm drawing the picture clearly enough that the people in this hall who have the authority to act understand what is being asked of them. The fourth industrial revolution will not wait. The window for entry is closing. The cost of standing still rises every month. That will do so. By 2050, the workforce of sub-Saharan Africa will approach 900 million people. Nigeria will be the single largest share of that workforce. We will either equip that workforce for the economy that will exist, or we will produce a generation whose capacity exceeds the opportunities available to them. The first outcome is what nations of vision pursue. The second is what rudderless nations permit. Again, the choice is ours. My final words, the fourth industrial revolution is not waiting for Nigeria. It's not waiting for Futo. It is already reshaping economies in cycles measured in months. The talented Nigerian youth also seem to be in a hurry to make their mark, just like their mates in other climes. Many of them are now getting the technical skills they need outside the classroom and outside the universities. They are now taking advantage of a variety of intensive online or physical training to acquire the skills and certifications they need to compete in the global digital space. In fact, it has been argued that 4 or 5 years degree programs, as administered by universities, are increasingly losing relevance. Some people have also predicted a drastic decline in the demand for university degrees in the near future. This is largely because employers are more interested in skills and hands-on competencies than certificates. Why spend 5 years in the university when you can get the skills you need in 1 year or less? Well, this is a topic for another day, but I've mentioned it here as food for thought. I want the Futo management and the faculty to bear this in mind as you think about your curriculum of the future. Remember, Nigerians has an abundance of talents. What we have not yet consistently built are the institutions that deploy and retain those talents at the level our young people deserve. FUTO at this hinge moment between two vice chancellors with a supportive national policy environment, a willing state partner, and a young population ready to work has a chance to become one of those institutions, not just a university that teaches the fourth industrial revolution, but a university that helps Nigeria to lead. At least we can lead. If we cannot lead the world, let us lead in Africa. That work is bigger than any single government, any single vice chancellor, any single graduating class. It is the work of an institutional generation. I commit on behalf of Imo State to playing my part for as long as I hold this office. I trust that this university, under its coming leadership, will play its part. And I trust that the graduating class of 2026 will carry the work forward in ways none of us on this stage can yet predict. When historians of Nigeria look back at the 2020s, they will name a few institutions whose decisions in this decade shaped the country's path. Let FUTO be on that list. Let Southeast be on that list. Let Imo State be on that list. Let this graduating class be remembered as the cohort that turned the corner. Congratulations, graduates. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Otsu. Welcome, Vice Chancellor Dozie. Thank you, Council Chairman, faculty, parents, and God bless you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Thank you, Onwa. Thank you, Onwa Yoko. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. This rouse innovation and standing ovation is well deserved. Thank you. What a lecture. Thank you. Thank you. Nance, thank you. His Excellency, we appreciate you. What a lecture. That lecture is for the highly cerebral. Thank you so much. Thank you. We don't know what else to say. He was quite in-depth. He was robust, yet void of any form of convolution and ambiguity. And that lecture, to say the least, is profoundly enlightening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, His Excellency. We appreciate you. We thank you. Quite profoundly enlightening and thought-provoking. We thank you. You took us all around the world, from America to North America, to the Asian world, to Europe. You come back to our continent. You went again all around, taking us around, very knowledgeable. His Excellency, placing my hand on the leg of the VC, we want to tell you that you actually belong to the classroom. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. That was quite robust. The SWOT analysis was clear. He started from the strength to the weaknesses, to the opportunities, and ended with the threats. Thank you. We can't thank you enough. We appreciate you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you. Thanks, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, Nance. Thank you, National Association of Nigerian Students. Nance, thank you. Unemela, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are all his heartbeat. We are coming to the highlights of this very occasion. We are coming to the highlight of this very occasion, which is the presentation of the memento, the presentation of the Macho Man. But before then, we want to invite the Government House Choir for a short rendition. Government House Choir.
Thank you. My Vishima, thank you. Sorry. Yes, on the left. Yes. My Vice Chancellor, ma. It's our tradition to appreciate our lecturers. So I hand this over to you, ma. Thank you. My active, dynamic governor, please, with humility, step forward.
On behalf of the council, convocation, congregation, staff and students of the greatest University of Technology in Nigeria, I present this memento to His Excellency, my brother, my friend, and the distinguished, in fact, my song calls him like this, in hope. We present this memento, sir, to you as, come and hold for me, as a keepsake to remember this day that you served as the 38th convocation lecturer of FUTU. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. While we invite the Nans for their special presentation to the governor. Nans, please. Time for your special presentation. We want to acknowledge the presence of Professor Yu Chukwumeze, Vice Chancellor, Imo State University. We also want to recognize Professor C.C. Eze, Vice Chancellor, Imo State University of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. Professor Jude Obulie, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Kingsley Ozumba Mbadiwe University. The man overseeing the affairs of the university, another distinguished academic administrator. We want to welcome you and recognize your presence. The Nans, please come for your presentation.
His Excellency, distinguished Senator Hope Odidika Uzodimma, National Association of Nigerian Students, Joint Campus Council, JCC Imo State, award of honor presented to His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodimma, the Executive Governor, Imo State, in recognition of your exemplary leadership and qualitative infrastructural developments throughout Imo State. Congratulations, Grand Patron. Signed, Comrade Ozemena Samuel Emetuche, Nans JCC Chairman. His Excellency, the National Association of Nigerian Students also want to present a gift to you, the Bible, in recognition for your strengths, your good leadership in infrastructural development throughout the states, and your exemplary leadership, sir. We appreciate you.
Now our papa be this, so we no get another one. Now our papa be this, so.
And again, His Excellency, we really want to say a very big thank you for taking us to Abuja. Your children fought a good fight. We really made you proud despite we didn't win. Thank you so very much, sir.
A biggie man, a biggie man. We say na big man, oh. Echo, you know the for size, oh, a big man, echo, a big man. We say na big man,
Nance, thank you. 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 In as much as the governor is here, it's still a university activity. Thank you. Thank you. We are almost coming to the end of this program. It's an intellectual program. It's a university program. It's a conservative program. Quite rich and robust and enlightening. We want to, at this moment, invite the Pro-Chancellor of this university, the Chairman of the 13th Governing Council, distinguished Senator Jack Tiligiado, OFR, CON. Pro-Chancellor, sir.
May we have some quiet, please? I want to begin this vote of thanks by thanking the Vice Chancellor, Professor Nena Oti, for giving us the best gift that I, as the Pro-Chancellor of the 12th and 13th Governing Council, can attest to. Nena Oti, what you've done today is the greatest ever gift you have given to FUTO. I am 82 years old. Never before, never, I have listened to lectures. I have climbed podium upon podium since 1978 when I went into politics as a Second Republic Senator of the Federal Republic. Never before have I heard a lecture
AIT, sharing the African experience.
US seeks major NATO reforms and urges allies to boost defense spending. Israel and Lebanese authorities agreed to implement ceasefire. And Kenya speak up against planned US Ebola quarantine facility. This is the World News on AIT. I am Olamide Arroyo. Welcome. United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the Trump administration has no intention of withdrawing from NATO, reaffirming Washington's commitment to the alliance. At the same time, he stressed the administration will press for what he called significant changes, urging member states to boost defense spending as part of a broader push for a rebalanced transatlantic security partnership.
Speaking at a congressional hearing, Rubio said U.S. President Donald Trump plans to attend the NATO Leaders Summit scheduled for July 7 to 8 in Ankara, Turkey, where he will outline Washington's position on NATO reform. Meanwhile, the U.S. European Command said in a social media post on Wednesday that Pentagon officials have informed allies that Washington will adjust its contributions to NATO forces in accordance with burden-sharing requirements set out in the 2026 National Defense Strategy and the Defense Department's vision for NATO 3.0. NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe and Commander of U.S. European Command, General Alexis Grinkiewicz, said Washington has made clear that the alliance has become overly dependent on U.S. military forces, a situation that must change. He said the planned adjustments are intended to ensure that NATO no longer relies excessively on U.S. capabilities. He added that given the possibility of simultaneous conflicts emerging in multiple theaters, such changes are necessary. At a NATO defense ministers meeting held in Brussels, Belgium in February this year, U.S. Under-Secretary of War for Policy, Elbridge Colby, said Washington seeks to advance NATO 3.0, an alliance built on partnership, not dependency.
The National Secretary General spokesman Stefan Dujarric has warned of the surging number of internally displaced people within Lebanon due to rising tensions along the Lebanese-Israeli border. Dujarric told a press conference that in Beirut's southern suburbs alone, approximately 200,000 people have been forced to flee their homes due to Israeli evacuation orders. Refugee camps are overcrowded and the situation is extremely dire. He said the flames of war have severely damaged the local healthcare system and the safety of medical personnel cannot be guaranteed.
The escalating intensity and growing number of IDF strikes in the South Lebanon, alongside continuing launches by Hezbollah, are all deeply alarming and, of course, heighten the risk of even further escalation. We call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint, respect the cessation of hostilities arrangements, and fully comply with their obligations under Resolution 1701.
The UN Interim Force in Lebanon said the Israeli military recently intensified its military operations in Lebanon and increased the scale of airstrikes, with the situation at risk of spiraling out of control. In response, the UN issued a serious warning demanding an immediate cessation of hostility and the full implementation of obligations under the relevant UN Security Council resolution. And Israel and Lebanon agreed on Wednesday to implement a ceasefire, according to a joint statement released on the day following trilateral negotiations in Washington, D.C., the United States. The ceasefire is contingent on a complete cessation of Hezbollah fire and the evacuation of all Hezbollah operatives from the South Litani sector, said the statement issued by the two countries and the United States.
Israel and Lebanon also agreed to advance the creation of pilot zones in Lebanon, where the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah will be excluded. In a statement which was issued at the end of the fourth round of the U.S.-mediated high-level talks held at the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C., in all the pilot zones, Lebanese armed forces will take exclusive control of the territory to the exclusion of all non-state actors. The fifth round of high-level talks between Israel and Lebanon, with a view toward reaching a comprehensive agreement, has been scheduled to be held later this month. Meanwhile, Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Thursday that his country will continue its operations on the ground in southern Lebanon for the time being, despite the agreement, and continue to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the area. The defense minister said that the Israeli troops will remain in the security zone up to the Yellow Line, a self-declared Israeli military buffer zone stretching roughly 5 to 10 kilometers north of the internationally recognized border. He said Israel has the freedom of action backed by the United States to strike Beirut in response to attacks on Israel.
And from Israel and Lebanon ceasefire, we move on to Iran, where Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei on Thursday called on Iranians to preserve unity and mutual respect in a bid to stop the enemy's plot to destabilize the country. Khamenei said everyone should neutralize the enemy's plot through steadfastness, foresight, preserving unity and mutual trust, and not echoing the enemy.
Khamenei said in a written message, which was read on his behalf during commemorations marking the 37th anniversary of the passing of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic. Mojtaba Khamenei has not appeared in public since he took office in March. He succeeded his father, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed on February 28 in the joint military strikes launched by the United States and Israel. It's reported on the same day that U.S. President Donald Trump has told aides privately that he would consider ending the ceasefire with Iran if Tehran kills American troops. A day earlier, Trump said talks with Iran are going very well, and the U.S.-Iran ceasefire that took effect in early April remains in place despite recent strikes in the region, suggesting that it is possible an interim deal could be reached over the weekend as the ongoing talks are advancing. Iran's naval forces have targeted the command center on a U.S. destroyer in the Gulf of Oman in response to U.S. violations of the regulations of the Strait of Hormuz and its hostile actions against Iranian vessels, state-run IRIB TV reported Wednesday. Minutes later, the U.S. Central Command denied the claim on X.
And now to China, where it says it opposes all forms of unilateral restrictions, including the series of trade restrictions imposed by the United States under the pretext of forced labor. And this was said by the Ministry of Commerce spokeswoman He Yongqian in a press conference in Beijing on Thursday. He made the remark in a response to media query about the Trump administration's recent proposal to impose additional import tariff on goods from certain countries. Regarding the Section 301 investigation, China's position is consistent. China opposes all forms of unilateral restrictive measures, including the series of trade restrictions imposed on China under the pretext of forced labor. China has repeatedly made its solemn position clear on this matter. He said he urged U.S. side to work with China in the same direction and jointly maintain the stability of China-U.S. economic and trade relations. Communication to finalize specific arrangement as soon as possible and promote their implementation, said the spokeswoman. And soaring fuel prices in the United Kingdom, driven by escalating tensions in the Middle East, have pushed many commuters to seek out more affordable and flexible alternatives, with electric two-wheelers emerging as a popular choice for those looking to move away from expensive prices at the pump. Much of that comes as a result of the disruption caused along the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway through which a considerable share of the world's oil and gas supplies are transported.
Since the outbreak of the Middle East conflict in late February, petrol prices in Britain have risen by nearly 20%, while diesel has climbed by more than 25%, reaching three-year highs. The increased cost of transportation has added to the financial pressures facing many UK households amid an already challenging cost of living crisis, and is now forcing many to rethink their daily travel options. In Edinburgh, motorists say they are starting to feel the pinch as they count the mounting cost of refueling their cars. However, against this backdrop of surging fuel prices, electric bicycles and electric motorcycles have gained traction for their low running costs and convenience in getting around the congested streets of the Scottish capital. Shops selling these electric two-wheelers have recently seen a noticeable increase in customer inquiries as more people weigh up the benefits of switching to these more nimble vehicles as a more cost-friendly and timely-saving solution.
German airlines are facing mounting financial pressure as energy costs continue to climb, forcing carriers to raise ticket prices, trim route networks, and rethink their operational strategies. The squeeze on profit margin comes amid a broader economic challenge for Europe's aviation sector, where rising expenses are testing the resilience of even the continent's largest carrier.
Lufthansa had said in May that it could spend an additional 1.7 billion euros this year on jet fuel. Many airlines in the country have raised ticket prices and cancelled short flights to cut costs. At Berlin-Brandenburg Airport, travelers are already feeling the impact on their wallets. The cost of getting from point A to point B has risen sharply across the board, with airfares seeing some of the most dramatic increases. Some air travelers at Berlin-Brandenburg Airport said they noticed that in general, the prices on taxi, bus and prices on flights became much more high. The last time they checked the prices to go to Rome, and it was even one flight like 300 euros, even before they were like 120, 130. Behind sticker shock lies a complex web of cost pressures weighing on German carriers. As one industry expert pointed out, that the challenges extend far beyond volatile fuel prices, with domestic operational expenses creating a particularly heavy burden for airlines based in Germany. A professor from business administration, Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences, Yvonne Ziegler, said the aviation industry in Germany is picking up very slowly, partly due to rising operational costs at home. For example, on top of the aviation tax here, the airlines also have to pay a good amount of construction fee and spend a lot on security checks and labor costs. And the rising fuel prices are definitely adding to the financial strains.
And Chinese medical workers are providing medical assistance to African countries affected by the current Ebola outbreak. Currently, a team of Chinese experts arrived in the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on Tuesday to help contain the spread of Ebola. Their visit comes 2 weeks after the World Health Organization declared the Ebola outbreak in northeastern DRC a global health emergency. The team says it is ready to work alongside local health authorities to strengthen surveillance, prevention, and response measures. They also called for international cooperation to jointly tackle the health crisis. Immunization Program Center under the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention. In Uganda, healthcare workers at the China-Uganda Friendship Hospital are balancing the need to prevent the spread of the virus with the need to keep essential medical services running. Strict screening, measures, isolation facilities, and enhanced protective protocols have already become part of daily operations. And still on the Ebola outbreak, the number of suspected Ebola cases still under investigation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, has dropped sharply to 116, the country's health ministry said. The decline came after many previously listed suspected cases were tested and ruled out. World Health Organization spokesperson Christian Lindmeier said on Tuesday.
Democratic Republic of Congo Health Ministry report released on May 27 said the country has recorded 1,077 suspected Ebola cases as of May 26th. Landmeier told reporters that during the outbreak, anyone identified through surveillance or seeking treatment at a healthcare facility with Ebola-like symptoms is initially considered a suspected case until testing confirms otherwise. He said after laboratory tests, many of those cases were ruled out, with some found to be malaria, meningitis, or other unrelated illness. According to the latest Democratic Republic of Congo Health Ministry update, as of Monday, the country had reported more than 340 confirmed Ebola cases, including 60 deaths. A total of 6 patients have recovered. The World Health Organization declared the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo a public health emergency of international concern on May 17th. The country outbreak is caused by Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, of which there is currently no approved vaccine or specific treatment. A survivor of the 2018 Ebola epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo is warning communities against disinformation as the country confronts a new Bundibugyo strain outbreak declared last month. The 2018 Ebola was marred by disinformation, hampering response efforts and causing more than 2,000 deaths. Confirmed Ebola cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo have reached 343. The country's health minister, Roger Kamba, said Monday the latest outbreak declared on May 15th is the 17th in the Democratic Republic of Congo since the virus was identified in 1976.
And from Democratic Republic of Congo, we'll move on to Kenya, where residents of Nanyuki in central Kenya are standing firm against a planned U.S. Ebola quarantine facility in their town, determined to block the project from taking root. Kenya President William Ruto has defended the plan as part of national preparedness and Kenya's partnership with the United States. His administration has described the move as strategic health partnership with the U.S., saying it also ties Kenya directly to global emergency response networks.
The U.S. government later made a decision to designate the Laikipia Air Force Base near Nanyuki for quarantining citizens potentially exposed to Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo has drawn local and international scrutiny. While some residents said they are awaiting more information from authorities, others voiced concern over hosting a facility linked to one of the world's deadliest viruses. A local resident, Paul Kinge, said he strongly opposes the decision because Ebola is a very contagious disease, extremely contagious. The matter has since moved to the corridors of justice. Kenya's High Court on Tuesday has ordered the government to disclose details of the proposed U.S.-linked Ebola quarantine center, halting its establishment. The court also extended the suspension on the implementation of the Kenya's U.S. deal, pending the hearing and the determination of a case challenging the now controversial arrangement, which critics argue could put public health at risk. The order effectively pauses any immediate steps toward establishing the facility as legal questions surrounding the project are considered. The court has also barred the admission of individuals exposed to the virus, pending a legal challenge by the end of the investigation.
And if you just joined us, you're watching the World News on AIT. We'll go on a short break. We'll be back with more stories.
Abuja is rising. The Federal Capital Territory is moving forward with purpose, progress, and renewed hope. Join the Federal Capital Territory Administration as we celebrate the commissioning of 27 landmark projects and the flag off of 2 new ones under the visionary leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, by the Honorable Minister of the FCT, His Excellency Barrister Nyesom Ezenwo-Wike, CON, and Honorable Minister of State, FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmoud, in commemoration of the 3rd anniversary of the administration of Mr. President, champion of the renewed hope agenda and the commemoration of 50 years of the Federal Capital Territory. From June 8th to July 17th, 2026, witness the commissioning of completed transformative projects designed to strengthen infrastructure and democratic institutions, improve livelihoods, and modernize Nigeria's capital city. Projects and landmark events include over 20 major roads, interchanges, and bridges covering more than 100 kilometers across the FCT, expanded water supply to satellite towns, the magnificent Court of Appeal Complex Abuja Division, new staff quarters of the Nigerian Law School, Wari, ultra-modern office annex for the body of benchers, modern judges' quarters, remodeled Abuja City Gate, launch of the sales office and experience center of the Abuja City Work Development, and the unveiling of Abuja at 50 Compendium, celebrating the history, growth, achievements, and future vision of Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, and many more impactful people-oriented projects aimed at improving mobility, housing, justice delivery, public service, and the overall quality of life for residents. This is progress you can see. This is development you can feel. This is the renewed hope agenda in action. Come and be part of history as the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, redefines development in the FCT. The Federal Capital Territory Administration, building infrastructure, preserving history, empowering communities, transforming lives.
Welcome back from the break. Moving on now, President of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Innocent Ohagwa, has admonished Nigerians to support ongoing tax reforms of the federal government by getting their tax identification numbers. Ohagwa, who was speaking during the 34th Annual General Meeting of the Institute and presentation of 2025 reports, noted that successful tax reforms will not only benefit individuals and businesses, but put the country on a pedestal of global competitiveness. The Institute's total assets grew substantially from 2.88 billion naira in 2024 to 3.99 billion naira in 2025, an upward trajectory indicating strengthened financial stability and prudent asset management.
Tax payment is a primary financial mechanism that government uses to fund essential public services, maintain infrastructure, and promote economic growth. describing the ongoing tax reform by the federal government as excellent. Innocent Ohagwa urged Nigerians to be tax compliant.
Without tax, no society will survive because you need tax to be able to fund development. Everybody's a beneficiary. I can tell you that if we can give support to that tax reform, that we will compete favorably internationally.
The scorecard presented by the president at the 34th annual general meeting showed a very impressive performance in the year under review.
Despite inflationary pressures and rising operational costs, the Institute remained steadfast in delivering on its mandate through enhanced taxpayer education, professional development programs, advocacy initiatives, amongst others. The 28th Annual Tax Conference was successfully held under the theme Tax Reforms and Global Relevance, positioning Nigerian tax system for a sustainable future. The conference attracted over 4,500 participants to support the implementation of tax reform. The Institute Council has designated June 25 as a National Tax Awareness Day.
The Institute achieved a remarkable operating surplus of 753 million this financial year, after accounting for fixed asset expenses, depreciation and amortization, and the benefits. Furthermore, the Institute's total asset grew substantially from 2.88 billion in 2024 to 3.99 billion in 2025. The exceptional performance is as a result of our members' continuous support, the strategic oversight of our governing council, and talent effort of our wonderful staff.
A minute silence was also observed for the soul of the departed doyen of taxation, Chief David Ajibola. Ushuomowa Daniels, AIT News, Lagos.
As workplace expectations continue to evolve, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations says professionalism, discretion, and responsible information management remain critical to career growth and organizational success. Speaking during the monthly meeting of the FCT chapter of the Institute, the guest speaker, Dr. Joe Etar, emphasized the need for discretion, respect, and effective communication in building trust and achieving career growth. He said, for many professionals, succeeding at work requires more than technical skills, stressing that building healthy workplace relationships and communicating effectively have become essential skills in today's competitive work environment.
Was owning the trust of your boss, having access to him so that you can resolve issues. It is the only way that you can gain his authority to operate, because you must push competence, you must establish trust, and then that is the only way the influence will flow predictably.
Chairman of the NIPR FCT chapter, Stanley Ogadigo, and other practitioners examined ways to navigate workplace dynamics and maintain professional standards with emphasis on workplace etiquette and information management.
Public relations officers, reputation builders, and managers should not be afraid of redeployment or sack. What is it? That is when you see what Chief Alaba was talking about. You look beer when there is no beer. I don't believe in that. It's either you are doing the right things or you are not doing them. And if you want to stay so that I don't lose my job, my children who will train them, then you begin to do what PR is not.
Participants say the issues are vital in helping professionals navigate workplace challenges and strengthen ethical standards. And now let's bring you some sports stories. Nigeria Super Eagles were held to a thrilling 2-2 draw by Poland in an international friendly match played at the PGE National Stadium in Warsaw on Wednesday. Terry Murphy opened the scoring for Nigeria before Kapta Krupski restored parity for the host. Paul Onachu then put the Super Eagles back in front in the 77th minute, raising hopes of a Nigerian victory. However, with only 2 seconds remaining in the encounter, Przemysław Niewiecki struck from long range to level the score at 2-2 and rescue a draw for Poland in front of their home supporters. The Super Eagles went into the match full of confidence following their recent Unity Cup triumph over Jamaica. They will now shift their attention to another high-profile friendly against Portugal in Lisbon on June 10. And that is the world news on AIT. I am Olamide Ario. Many thanks for staying with us.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
Participate and feel the cruising moments.
Every nation needs sustainable urban development to thrive.
Like people who are living there were like, it's a hell. Let me say it's a hell because our rent and the environment is not given at all.
Make them bring things down for us. If you house rent, make them bring it down for us.
House rent is getting high every day, and it's really affecting everybody, apart from those that owns a house. If you cannot pay, they'll ask you to park out.
The house has water before when I'm paying the 350, but when I'm paying 450 now, in fact, I can't even use water.
I pay 1.7 million. So we leave everything in the hands of God.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Housing Development.
What if your child could create, innovate, and lead the future? Watch the Innovate Bootcamp. It's going to be an exciting learning experience for the family. From AI and coding, media and journalism, podcasting to recycling, smart farming technology, pottery, fun quiz competitions, and powerful social activities. We are building skills that matter. This is not just a DV Camp show. It is where curiosity meets creativity and ideas come alive. Innovate Bootcamp, shaping tomorrow's innovators today. Showing Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Sundays.
Numerous cases of people falling asleep have been reported across the African continent. No one can explain this phenomenon.
With 24/7 FIFA World Cup coverage, sleep can wait. Everything can wait.
Get DSTV plus 1 month subscription now for only 15,000 Naira.
AIT, sharing the African experience.
For the mind, body, and soul.
It's a good therapy, capable of healing your heart.
Be in good company, and let's celebrate.
Love it.
AIT
Music Plus.
From Africa to the world.
It's good to have you back right here on AIT Music Plus. It is Throwback Edition. My name is Simon OZ. You can call me OZ Special with the vibes. On the show today, we're going to be taking you around the world of entertainment with Word E and also sharing with you an amazing song, throwback songs actually. You are set to enjoy a lot and even more right here on the show today. All right about now, guys, if you're ready, we are born ready. Let's go check out this beautiful set of music, as we call it, fresh videos. Stay locked. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back.
AIT
Music Plus.
From Africa to the world.
For you, every day is day one. Day one for you to give 100. 100 on the track, on the road, at work, because it's your job to give your all. 100 with the gang. And on the dance floor. Truth is, you're not wired to give less. Your future is now. So live it real, loud, full and free. You live it 100.
Music Plus. From Africa to the world. AIT Music Plus. From Africa to the world.
I hope you guys indeed enjoyed that beautiful set of fresh videos right here. You are still watching Throwback Thursday right here on AIT Music Plus. Now, before we take you around the world of entertainment with What Is, someone very special is in the news today. Nigerian singer and songwriter is preparing to release his next studio album. I'm talking about none other person, and that is Luna. It is titled On the Road. It will be dropping July 2026. I know his dear fans can't wait. I can't wait also because he's one artist that is very intentional about his sound. His music carries a lot of expectations, struggles, challenges in life. And I want to believe that is the reason why a lot of young ones and people who are going through a lot can easily connect with his sounds. So guys, July, this album is going to be out, and that is On the Road. Remember his beautiful, beautiful songs that he has dropped, like HBP featuring Bella Shmurda. Of course, he has also been featured by T.I. Blaze. And Friday, talking about Friday, is one of the biggest R&B voices from the US. So, and Luna happens to be the only Nigerian artist that he featured on his last album. So, guys, get ready. Just before you know it, July will be here, and we're going to be enjoying On the Road. So, guys, if you're ready right about now, we are born ready because we are set to take you around the world of entertainment with What Is. We got it.
AIT Music Plus. From Africa to the world.
Not going back.
You have no business being there now. You need to come back home.
Remy and Norma is an emotional Nollywood drama starring Bisola Ayola and Lizzie Bensi Ameye. The film follows Remy, a young widow trying to rebuild her life after loss, as she develops an unexpected bond with her mother-in-law, Norma, against the backdrop of cultural expectations and societal pressure.
That we will continue to play our part in feeding the nation.
Wants to see me? Why? I don't know.
This is my home, and I want to stay here with my people. Tradition is tradition.
The story explores grief, healing, resilience, and power of female solidarity. Directed by Lindsay Ifejoko. Produced by Bikia Graham Douglas. Executive produced by Solas Ovunda Akarolo.
Still imagine that, all the years you have spent and all that, you are still finding it, you are still making a way out of all that. So teachers have a crucial role to play in nation building because, they are the ones that lay the foundation. Because without that, a student leaving your sector, either in the primary or the secondary sector, going to the university to acquire a degree and thereafter going to serve and then going to serve the nation or even the world, wherever they may be. The fact remains that teachers are crucial in that particular category, and we need to appreciate them for what they do in the society.
So how do you see nation building then? You have talked about what they can do.
Nation building is for all of us. The teacher, the crucial role that the teacher is playing is to manufacture. To allow the children to blossom in that particular environment where they are. So if teachers are not paying attention to that, in order to ensure that, they have to encourage the children, they have to motivate them, they have to ensure that teaching and learning is properly done. If those things are not done, because, it's not just the salary, it's not just the remuneration now. If you are not passionate about that profession, you may not be able to do what you are supposed to do very well. So, teachers are supposed to be passionate about what they do, and therefore, their role in nation building is, somebody who will even engineer everything that will happen. Because without doing that, you will realize that we are turning half-baked individuals that will not be able to fit the role that we expect them to fit in the society.
Okay. Apart from what I would call the strict curriculum, how do teachers influence the civic and moral values of students?
Okay, the teacher is the role model. That's the first thing. Whether you are talking about punctuality, timeliness, whether you are talking about, behavior in the society, whether you are talking about being a role model as in paying your civic responsibility in the society, the students, the pupils look at their teacher. And that's why a student will go home and tell the parent, confront the parent actually and say, no, my teacher said this.
True.
And
very true.
Instead of the parent to say, oh, shut up there, I'm your parent, they will, rely on what the child is saying because, the pupil, the student believe that the teacher is the Lord. Therefore, if we don't, lay good example, if we don't give them a sample to follow, we will mislead them.
True. That is, the teachers basically manufacture the citizens because they are the ones that, embed all those ideas in them.
Yes,
well, we'll be back. Let's just take a break. We'll be back.
Thank you.
You are welcome back. So, Mr. Ejiboku, you are still with us. So now, how do teachers contribute, to national unity? We're talking about national identity now. National unity. Nigeria is a very unique nation.
Yes.
It's not like, there are some African nations, they all speak the same, So Nigeria is unique, diverse and all that. So how do teachers influence this idea of, our identity, our unity and things like that?
Now, right from the beginning, if you are conversant with a typical school, there are different, students and pupils coming from different backgrounds, different society, different languages, and all that. And the role of the teacher is to ensure that, look, there must be a level playing ground. We teach, we train everybody. We treat them equally. We don't have any preferential treatment. We don't say this one is from my region, this one is from this region, this one. No. We try as much as possible to let them know that they are all equal. And it's the same thing in, we expect them, whether they're in the same class, whether they are not in the same class, how they relate, with their classmates, how they relate with other people. And when there are issues, we also treat them, fairly, without saying that, no, this one is from my region, this one is from my region. And in everything we do, even in subjects, for instance, like civic, like social studies, like history, whatever it is they learn, we try as much as possible to promote the unity of the nation. And if they find themselves anywhere in the world, we try to let them know that they need to treat other people with respect, because, respect begets respect. It is reciprocal. So the fact remains that as far as they are children from any region, we let them realize that, look, you need to treat them with respect. And that's the essence of old school associations that we have today, that people are still, still happy to belong to. So that's the essence of promoting unity, and then, that bond must be established.
You've been in this system for 30-something years. I mean, that's a long time. Were you single when you started teaching?
Yes, I was single when I started teaching.
And then at some point?
At the point, of course, you have to settle down
yes,
and all that.
Yes. So how did becoming a parent change your perspective about teaching?
Well, before I became a parent, of course, I was born into a teaching family.
Oh, really?
My mother was a teacher. My father then was an administrator, administering schools and all that. So I've been in the system for quite a while. So when we also started having our own children, of course, the home is the first school that your child will attend, because you need to attend to the needs of the child in the house. Going through assignments, dropping them off in school and doing all that. Well, the two of us, as a couple, we are doing that together. Because, anytime, for instance, my wife is busy, I will be the one to take them to the bathroom, to also, attend to them and do all that. Rock them to sleep, and you do all that. Just for them to realize that we are both for them. And that helps them. Because if they know that the father is available, the mother is available, whenever they get to school, they will also put attention into what their teachers are saying, and they'll be able to do what they can do. So now we also seek the same collaboration from parents.
Good.
Because I give my example. I tell them at times when, for instance, my students were growing up and they were preparing for examinations, at times I sit with them to study with them.
Your children?
My own children, yes. So while they are doing their assignment, I'm also doing my work right there on the same table.
Your point is that parents should be interested
They should be. They should follow up what is happening to their children. They shouldn't just leave it to, either housemates or lesson teachers or whoever it is. At times, deliberately, I will not subscribe to DSTV. Because I want them to study. Because if you do that, that's a distraction. So I have to stay with them while they are studying. We have to do everything together. And then when it is time to sleep, of course, we go to sleep. And then we'll wake up the next day, and then we will move on again. So parents must be interested and must, be able to support their children in order for their children to turn out well in the society.
I was about to ask you to give me an example of how teachers influence community change. Right? This your example is quite personal and is good enough.
Quite right.
But if you have any other example, if you've heard of where teachers really influenced the community and for good.
We also do, because apart from the fact that for instance somebody like me, at least with the experience I've had, what we try to do is to mentor those who are just coming up now, to let them see the big picture. Because, in a society today, at times you find out that it's not just about the monetary value alone. We need to give something in order to have something. So if those who are coming now are, mentored appropriately, they will not make some of the mistakes that some people will make. Because, you need to also be, like I mentioned, being passionate about children and for children. The government cannot do it alone, but at least what we expect government to do is just to encourage them. Before now, it's even better now that we are having some teacher awards and all that.
It's better now.
Yeah, it's better now. Before now, for instance, we have not had, different awards for teachers. We have state award, we have national award. Then at times you have other agencies that can also play their part. So if the government can also do more in encouraging teachers, for instance, like a particular state that will have the best result or something like that, they should celebrate them. Not just the children alone. They should also find out who the teachers are and celebrate them.
Beyond the celebration, you're going to tell me more things you would like the government to do when we come back.
All right, that's
Don't go away.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So, Mr. Rotimi, I was saying that beyond just awards or celebrating the teachers, what can government do? Something more tangible to encourage teachers in this their role. Really, teachers are parents plus and something else.
Yes.
So
I think in terms of training, the government can also do something, but there are different endowment systems in place that it's not going to be for all the teachers, but at least, a system is put in place in such a way that some of the teachers know they can benefit from this and they can apply for it. So if we have more of that, we have some philanthropists, for instance, who have been doing so many things. About
such as?
For instance, we have Aliko Dangote, for instance, who has instituted something for, the teaching profession generally.
Yeah, what specifically?
I think he did something about making sure that children, many institutions have facilities, something like that, yes. And then we have MTN Foundation also doing something in that regard as well, for teachers generally, and then providing resources for people. So those kind of things are things that can encourage teachers, apart from the government, celebrating, like, we before now, we are not celebrating World Teachers Day, but now we have World Teachers Day.
And which day is that?
That's October 5 every year. This is celebrated everywhere. You have state level, we are at a federal level, then you have some awards also given to teachers during that particular celebration. So those kind of things are things that are, good enough for at least encouragement for, for the teaching profession.
For the teaching profession.
Yes.
So would you recommend that your child become a teacher based on the reality on the ground right now?
Yes, being a teacher, for instance, what we try to do is not to constrain our children to say, they must do this. You only guide them. For instance, before you place children in a particular class, when they're in the senior class, you do not just handpick them and say, okay, you go to business, you go to technology, you go to art, you go to science. No, it is now evidence-based. So what we do, there's a psychometric test that you apply once the child is going to a senior class, that the child will take a test. That test will determine the aptitude of that child. So whether the child is suited for a business class, an art class, or a social science class, or a science class, that test will reveal it. Okay, so what we normally do is that after giving those children the test, and whatever the result is, they go home to discuss with their parents, to say, look, this is where, I was placed. And then they come back to let us have that, as far as the consent is given them. So the same thing for my own children, for instance. When they were in school, they had the same, they had the same procedure.
Aptitude.
Yes, they had the same aptitude test. So the first one, he was placed in engineering. The second one was placed in business. The third one was placed in ICT. So that's how, they resolve that. So, but if they decide on their own to say, okay, I want to take this further, I want to go back and teach, why not? I mean, it is a world of theirs nowadays, and I will support them in whatever they want to do, as far as that's their choice. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for 30-something years of your life,
yes, please,
you were imparting knowledge and all of that. There's a saying in Nigeria that a teacher's reward is aha. So looking back, sincerely say, on this point, I do not regret. On this point, I wish this was this and that was that. So just tell us a bit.
For the number of years I spent, for my experience, there's no regret at all being a teacher.
What will you say to a teacher that's watching this program? Specifically, I give you a minute. Okay. What will you say to a teacher?
All I want to say to a typical teacher now is to say, look, don't just be frustrated. Don't be discouraged. All you need to do, continue to do your best. Take that child as your child. Be passionate about what you are doing, because you need to also establish, for instance, a rapport with your student before you can bring that student to learn from you. So when you have a relationship with that child, ask about the welfare of that child. Ask about the situation at home. Take that child out of the classroom and relate with that child as your child. That is when you can create an impact.
Sure, it took passion for you to be in this system for over 3 decades.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rotimi.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
As we have heard, teachers remain the backbone of any meaningful national development. Indeed, they shape not just careers, but character. Not just individuals, but the destiny of a nation. If Nigeria must grow, compete globally, and achieve sustainable development, then investing in teachers is not an option. It is a necessity. We thank our guests for the insightful contribution and our viewers for staying with us. Join us next week on The Teacher. Thank you very much.
The number of children dying before their 5th birthday has hit a record low, according to new United Nations estimates. And Malawi is among countries highlighted in a UN report released on Wednesday for making significant reductions in child deaths. It, alongside Cambodia, Rwanda and Mongolia, have all been credited with a more than 75% drop in under-5 mortality since 2000. In the Malawian town of Nemetete earlier this year, parents like Secret Gibson were queuing up to get their children vaccinated against malaria, under a new program being rolled out in countries across the continent.
When a child receives the vaccine like this, it means as he grows, he will be a healthy and strong person. But also, as he attains maturity, it's like you have already laid a good foundation for him. Because if you don't take him for the vaccine, the clinic has reservations to treat a child who did not take the jab.
Preventable and treatable causes such as pneumonia, diarrhea and malaria made up the majority of the 4.9 million under-5 deaths in 2022. While that's a halving of the mortality rate since 2000, it also still represents 1 death every 6 seconds. And the UN warned that the world is behind in its goals for reducing preventable deaths by 2030, with progress slowing since 2015. Overall deaths of babies and children under 5 in 2022 were concentrated in sub-Saharan Africa. It represented 57% of the global total, despite only accounting for around 30% of the live births that year. The UN said better access to primary healthcare and community health workers could vastly improve the outlook. But it also warned that climate change, increasing inequity, conflict, and the long-term fallout from the global health crisis could all threaten progress.
Political tension is rising across the country, with the race for elective offices beginning to take shape. Parties are moving to conclude crucial stages of their candidate selection processes amid rising tension, internal disputes, and fresh realignments. Defections, coalition negotiations, and disagreements within opposition parties have continued to dominate the political landscape as debates over consensus candidacy, zoning arrangements, and party leadership structures create uncertainties as candidates emerge one way or the other in the party primaries. The ruling All Progressives Congress APC, for instance, commenced its primaries days ago, with aspirants battling for the party's tickets to contest the 360 House of Representatives seats, 109 senatorial seats, and the 991 legislative seats in the 36 state houses of assembly nationwide. The exercise expected to test the strength and the unity of the party at the grassroots has already generated controversies in some areas, as the party shuffled between its initial resolve to use the consensus option and the direct primaries, where party members couldn't agree. In Osun State, for instance, the primary election scheduled for Sunday, May 17, was disrupted across the state's 9 federal constituencies following protests by aggrieved party loyalists. Some aspirants openly rejected the outcome of the exercise, alleging that the process was manipulated in favor of preferred candidates. Similar complaints have also emerged from other states, with accusations of imposition, biased screening processes, and undue interference by party leaders. In several instances, governors and influential stakeholders are reportedly pushing for consensus arrangements aimed at securing tickets for loyalists, a development critics argue undermines internal democracy and alienates party members. Observers warn that if not properly managed, these disputes could trigger deeper divisions within the parties, fuel further defections, and weaken public confidence in the democratic process. But the new Electoral Act has something in it for those who think that the situation has not changed, as they can still switch from one party to another or engage in forum shopping for tickets to contest the 2027 elections. Today on Jigsaw, we will examine the politics surrounding these primaries, the growing crisis within party structures, the options of consensus and direct primaries, as we have seen played out in the different political parties in their primaries, and the broader implications for the 2027 general election. Honorable Bamidele Salam is a member of the House of Representatives. He represents Ede North South, Egbedoria and Ejigbo Federal Constituency of Osun State. He is a member of the Accord Party, a party that has not only suddenly become popular in Osun State, but a party to beat, even as Osun State prepares for an off-cycle governorship election in August this year. Honorable Salam joins us shortly.
A very warm welcome to you. Honorable Tunde Salam is here. He's our guest on Jigsaw this afternoon. Sorry. Honorable Bamidele Salam, I meant, is here already. He's our guest on Jigsaw this afternoon. Honorable Bamidele Salam is a member representing Ede North, Ede South, and Egbedoria Ejigbo Federal Constituency area of Osun State. Beyond that, he is the chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure being here.
And it's been a long while.
Long time. Thank you, sir.
I remember the last time we fixed an appointment was how many months ago? You said you were on your way out of the country.
My apologies, please.
It's okay.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you very much, sir.
I must say that as chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, he is one of, not just one of the cerebral members in the House, but one of the hardworking. He has to be, because the committee is heading, it's a very important one in the politics.
Thank you.
We'll come back to your activities as chairman of that committee. But let's start with politics. Your state is not so much in the news as regards the Accord Party. In actual fact, the Accord Party was relatively unknown in Osun State until circumstances forced His Excellency to look in the direction of Accord Party as a purpose-built vehicle for a second-term ambition. So how have you been planting the Accord Party in the minds of the people? What's the symbol of Accord Party? I think it's called...
It's the thumb. It's the thumb.
Right?
The thumb. Okay. That same thumb that we use on the on the ballot.
On the ballot. Okay.
And it is the first political party on the ballot paper because it is A. So it is Accord. It comes first. And all this also helps.
That's an advantage.
Oh, yeah, they have an advantage.
When they give you ballot paper, the first
one you see on top, we're on top, and then your thumb is what we just used to.
Was that a deliberate choice by His Excellency, or it was just...
Well, it's a combination. It's a combination of a process of wide consultation with the stakeholders of the party in the state, as well as trying to look at which political platform offers a very good alternative to the People's Democratic Party, which was then bedeviled by crisis. So as at that time, you know, the governorship primaries was to be concluded by December 15th of last year. And as at then, there was uncertainty as to which of the groups in the PDP, you know, was entitled to present a candidate, and the governor had to run. We also had to look for
take that gamble.
That would have been too risky. And in fact, the people of Osun, traditional rulers, professionals, all of them were telling the governors at that time that it's better he looked for an alternate political platform so that he doesn't get shut out of the calendar, and that was exactly what happened. So, wide consultation, looking at also even the manifesto of the political party we are going into to be sure that it's also a manifesto we can sell to the people, and of course a party that people can easily also identify by its symbol, by its color, and so on and so forth. So, and since the governor moved into the accord, and 6 members of the House of Reps and 1 senator and 25 members of the House of Assembly.
25?
Moved, yeah, 25 out of 26.
Out of how many?
Out of 26.
Wow.
25 moved with him. 6 members of the House of Reps out of 9 moved with the governor, and 1 senator out of 3 moved with him into the accord. And you know, because we are also people, of course, the local government chairman, all the local government chairmen moved together with him. And these are all, you know, very seasoned politicians, experienced politicians. It's not been very difficult for us to be able to galvanize support. In addition to the fact that the structure of the People's Democratic Party has also wholesale adopted the governor for a second term. So if you talk about the PDP and Accord, we are working in synergy in Osun for very obvious reasons.
Which of the PDP now, or the remnants from both sides?
No, the PDP, as far as we are concerned, is one, and that is the PDP, you know, that occupies the Wadata Plaza. That is the PDP that we know, and that is the PDP we are working together with.
Do you want me to tell you the PDP that occupies Wadata? I'm sure you know. All right. So is the governor looking beyond his own re-election, which comes much earlier, which I think
it's in August 15th.
It's in August this year.
Yes.
Is he looking beyond that election and looking at the larger picture, the 2027 general election?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. For example, you know, those of us who decamped with him have been adopted by the Accord as the candidates of the party. The same thing with those who decamped in the House of Assembly, and our election is in January of next year. So the governor is committed to that, and for the presidency, he has made his position known well before now, even when he was in the PDP, that he was going to support the candidacy of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the presidency in 2027, a decision that we respect as our leader. He has made that declaration even when he was in the PDP, even before moving to the Accord, and he still stands by that. For 2027 presidential election, he prefers Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a candidate from the southern part of the country, not just from southern part of the country, from the southwest, and by lineage from Osun. As his own candidate for the 2027 presidential
his brother.
election. Oh, yes.
And I'm wondering why it was difficult for him if he could make that decision, which is like a concession up front to the APC. Why the APC didn't open its arms and welcome him into his fold?
Okay,
and adopt him as candidate.
Is it a long story? It was it's a mixture of maybe faith and some political
gladiators
calculation by some persons in the APC who felt that his coming into the party will threaten their aspiration. You remember very recently, our leader, His Excellency Otumba Yola Mishori, was on television saying that when Adeleke wanted to come to the APC, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Chigbuega Itola, was always calling him and saying, there's a problem coming, or this one will threaten your ambition. So they all gathered together and resisted the move for Governor Adeleke to move into the APC, believing that his coming, of course, will jeopardize their chances. And then he came, he didn't come into the party as a result of that. And eventually, those who also thought that they were going to benefit by his not coming did not eventually benefit.
Has that brought them together now?
And,
as they say in Yoruba, has Rikishi brought them together?
Well, politics, a lot of things are happening. A lot of alignments and realignments are happening ahead of the 15th of August election in Osun. And the beneficiary, of course, the major beneficiary is the Accord. Because most persons who are disgruntled in the All Progressive Congress, even by the recent primaries that were conducted, we have had quite a number of people who felt cheated, who felt disgruntled, who are already coming into the Accord. Some of them have openly decamped into the Accord.
They are decamping in vain because they cannot hope to reach anything from the Accord.
It depends on what they want. You know, when people decamp, at times it's not just because they want a ticket.
Okay.
There are so many things.
It is because they didn't get a ticket.
It's because they didn't get the ticket.
Exactly.
And now they want to also make a statement to those who denied them the ticket. And making that statement means aligning with other political party, and then we also have things on the table for them that they can also leverage on, apart from the party ticket to contest election.
You have a lot of spoils to share.
Spoils
of electoral victory.
Benefits of electoral victory. Electoral victory certainly comes with benefits, and there are so many. If you have 9 House of Reps, for example, if we all got elected, we're all going to be having minimum of 558s statutorily allowed. Those are part of the benefits. The governor being elected has commissioners, has special advisors, has chairman of boards. Yeah, there are quite a lot of things that they can benefit both in government and in the party.
I understand that perfectly. Okay, let's move the discussion to the general elections itself. How has Accord been coping with the pressure of having, first of all, work on the fact that, okay, we're a new party, so to say, here in Osun State, and we have members who we have to contest the general elections. How has the dynamics work out?
Well, it's working very well. It's working.
As the Accord Party, for instance, held primaries for the purpose of the 2027 general election. In the case of Osun State, for the House of Assembly seats and the National Assembly seats.
Yeah, the primaries are holding between the 26th and 29th.
Of this month?
Yeah, of this month.
Next week?
Oh, yeah, next week. The one for the House of Assembly will hold on the 26th, and then on the 29th, the National Assembly primaries will hold, where the senators and the House of Reps are primary. But you see, it's not been difficult at all, like I told you, because there is something that is working very well for the Accord in Osun, and that is the superlative performance of the governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke. In the last 3.5 years that he's been governor, he has been able to prove cynics wrong. He has also justified the trust of those who knew that he was going to perform as a governor. He has done so many things that have, never been done before in Osun in terms of major infrastructure happening across the 6 zones of the state and the 9 federal constituencies. He has warmed himself very well into the heart of
the... three senatorial
districts. We have, traditionally, we have 6 zones. We have 3 senatorial districts. But the founders of Osun, the founding fathers of Osun, actually broke this into 6 zones. And each of the 6 zones, as we speak, have had very major infrastructure projects, some completed, some about to be completed. Then you talk about the civil servants. Of course, you know Osun very well. You're familiar with the power of the civil service and the pensioners in Osun. They have had it so good in a manner that they have never had it. And that has made it very easy for anyone who's running on the platform of the Accord today in Osun to market the party, because you have a governor who has justified that confidence reposed in him in 2022 election. And so the August election, by the grace of God, will follow the same pattern, except that now the margin will quite be wider by all ramification.
How come we don't get to hear about those positive stories you just told now? It's either we see the governor dancing at a public forum, or when it's about serious issues. I think the last one I watched was about I don't know his position now. I can't remember immediately now. Whether he was commissioner or a DG of something, and they were asking him questions about schools and about the revolution that he was talking about on that program. And the anchor person, I think it must be a podcast or something.
Okay,
can you remember now?
No.
I asked him, name one. And in the particular place where he said so much has happened, he couldn't name the school.
Unfortunately, I don't know who that person was. A lot of people, the governor has a lot of admirers. Maybe just be one of the admirers of the governor, wanting to do a program. But let me tell you, my dear brother, these are not things that are... At times, people focus attention on what they want to see. But nobody can deny some facts that, for example, for the first time in the history of Osun State, the first dual carriageway happening in Ilarogun. Ilarogun is the hometown of Chief Bisi Akande, one of our revered leader, former governor. The first major dual carriageway was undertaken by Governor Adeleke.
Was it a viable project for that?
Very, very,
or just
viable. It's about modernization of our cities. I mean, of course, you cannot,
if you don't have a dual carriageway in Ilesha.
We have in Ilesha now. That's another thing. The governor is the first governor also. I'm just coming. In Ilesha. Of course, I'm happy. I'm glad you know Ilesha very well. From the Palace Square up till the Biuri Akure Road, the first dual carriageway. Iwo, another very ancient town that I'm sure that you are familiar with. The first time. Then you talk about Ile-Ife, the ancestral home of all Yorubas. The flyover, the 10-span flyover done by the governor, the dual carriageway happening there. Of course, in Osogbo, the state capital, 2 major flyovers simultaneously happening for the first time. And then, of course, now you can see I'm mentioning I'm talking about the zones now, that we're talking about. And then you talk about the school project. Of course, a lot of renovation of school projects, school buildings, construction of new ones through the SUBEB and through the TESCOM. You also talk about the health. In fact, that's one area where I will be surprised if anybody says he doesn't know, because it was so rated that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation awarded Osun as the best state in the Southwest for 2 consecutive terms, 2024 and 2025, in primary health care delivery. Renovation of primary health care centers that were met in dilapidated shape when we came on board have been reconstructed, providing solar power for them to be 24 hours off-grid, equipping them with materials, equipping them with staff, that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gave the state $500,000 on each of the years as an award. These things are online. It's a lot as reward for coming first in the Southwest. And these are just, and then you talk about the civil servant, like I told you. Yeah. For the first time in the history of Osun, there was no crisis about the minimum wage. Oh yeah.
Freely.
Very soon you will see it more now.
You have to come here and come and blow the trumpet, and it has financial implication.
Okay.
You didn't know?
And I'm sure we'll get a discount. We'll get a good discount.
Forget about discount, but you should come first.
We are coming, I assure you.
We'll give him the platform to come and blow his trumpet.
I assure you.
If he has done this much.
Oh, yeah. You
and he's going for re-election. In August, that is almost there. But you were talking about the party primaries for the Accord Party.
Yes.
Have you learned anything from the political parties now as they conduct their own primaries? We've seen parties that have not been able to agree on a particular formula. Okay, today it is direct primaries, tomorrow it is consensus and all of that. And how in some cases the options have created upheavals. Are you learning lessons?
You see,
learning lessons.
I think they are the ones that should actually learn lessons from us. I said no. You see, we were coming from somewhere.
Okay.
If you look at the history of political parties in Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party, which is like our own legacy political party, where we left, is the party that exhibits the most of internal party democracy of all political parties. It's not a party of people just sitting down somewhere and say, we have decided on this.
We've seen in the PDP where people were also out tracking.
Oh, yes.
Even the purchase of interest, expression of interest.
And those were the things. Those were the things that eventually led to the collapse.
To the implosion.
To the implosion of the party, because people were not following the tradition left by the founding fathers of the party. Now, what am I trying to say is that the legacy party, which the APC, got from, was not used to conducting primaries. You will agree with me. It wasn't like their tradition. So they just got into it, and then they wanted to do it, and that's why you are seeing the kind of reaction, that is happening because of lack of proper management of internal politicking of political party. In our own case, in Accord, the governor as the leader of the party, with the leaders of the party, have sat down to look at these positions and engage with stakeholders, engage with aspirants to see where we can build consensus ahead of primary. And it has worked in most of the federal constituencies, in most of the houses of assembly. Of course, you will have people who are aggrieved. It's normal. Yeah. People have had hope that they were going to become this or that. Some have nurtured the ambition for years. Yeah. They have committed
to
their emotion.
Yes. For now.
But if you have a leader that is trusted, you know, he can always tell them that there is always another day in politics, and then offer them some palliative and some measures of whatever. So in our own case, you will see by the time the primaries hold, because of the various meetings that are holding, even as of today, there are still several meetings holding in different constituencies and federal and local government back at home, talking to aspirants and trying to see how we can reach a common ground before the date. Unfortunately, in the case of the APC, I think the reason why, you know, we see most of these things happening is that there had not been, you know, an adherence to this kind of control mechanism in the political parties. I've seen a lot. In fact, in some instances, you see results announced of candidates who have emerged through a primary, and 1 or 2 days after, you see other results coming up. As we speak today, in some local governments in Osun, there are 2 or 3 persons that are laying claim to the ticket of the party, and they are both jubilating. And some of them will say, "Oh, Abuja is Abuja that will resolve it." And I saw this release from Abuja. I don't know whether it is authentic or not, where they said no panel must announce any result. All results must be announced. You can't do that. You can't tell a panel you have
given responsibility
to go and conduct a primary in the
primaries include announcing the results.
Yes, sir. That is the end of the primaries. You announce the result, and then you come and then issue a statement and say, no, don't announce result.
And then
get
everything
to Abuja. You know, those kind of things, you know, lead to a lot of discontent within political parties. And I think that going forward, leaders of various political parties should learn lessons from this. And by the way, I must say this: I was also one of those who was against the issue of restricting political parties only to
I was coming to that. That what actually informed that at the level of making this electoral act, what informed the lawmakers insisting that as against what we had before, this time around, you have to legislate how the political parties should conduct their party affairs. And a lot of people, lawyers mainly, are saying that that is a legislative overreach.
I agree absolutely with those who have that opinion. Unfortunately, again, you know, the parliament is populated by politicians, and we are members of various political parties. And when the domineering political party has a position, and this is a global practice in parliament, they are most likely going to succeed in pushing that agenda. But if you remember, on the floor of the House on that day, those of us from the minority were against that proposition. Our minority leader, deputy minority leader, myself, and quite a few others were very, very vociferous in asking that you do not over-regulate political parties. You don't box political parties to 2 options of conducting primaries, of deciding their candidates. And this is the result of what we foresaw, especially in a society.
2 out of 3 options available. Isn't that okay?
No. You see, the problem is this. The 2 options available are 2 of extremes.
2 extremes.
They are 2 of the extreme.
Extreme right and extreme left.
There should be a center. So that if one doesn't work, okay, they can say, okay, let's take the center. The center is more manageable. The center has to do with a manageable number of delegates.
Yeah, but there are also arguments. There are also arguments to counter the viability of that center.
There will
which is that it has become too monetized.
I agree. You see, you cannot.
It's like that. You may not be able to have third option is tailor-made for the money bags, and they have always used it.
Not in all cases. Not in all cases. I ran in 2022 for my ticket, and I ran against somebody who was who prided himself on as a money bag.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to lodge delegates in the hotel. I still
emerged. I still emerged. It was very tough, but I still emerged. Now, it's not in all cases that the delegate system is monetized. I agree that in many instances. But what I'm saying is that political parties are better allowed to manage the process of nominating their candidate.
Have the political parties demonstrated enough sagacity to be entrusted alone, unsupervised or regulated?
They are still regulated. Even when you have the three options, it's still regulated. It's still regulated. The INEC still comes to play some role of observation and what have you. But you see this particular system that we have adopted. Now, especially the direct primaries. And I was asking some of my colleagues that day, how do you do this in a place where even the actual membership of a political party is difficult to determine? And then you have a very rowdy scene. If we are transited into effective digitalization of membership register and digitalization of voting process, it would have been a different thing. I can sit down in my house and decide on which candidate I was going to vote for. But you gather these thousands of people in the field in different local government. Look at the issue of presidential. If there is no party, I bet you, that can go for the direct primaries in the presidential election today. How will they do that? It means all members of the political party.
But in 2019, the APC used direct primaries.
No.
No,
they didn't use direct primaries.
They did.
No, they didn't direct primaries.
There was a point where, at the end, where they said they won 40 million votes.
No. They had a primary in Lagos. I remember very well, where Atiku was an aspirant.
That was in 2015. Yeah, I'm talking about
2019. He was already a sitting president.
Yes, but they still had, but the party constitution still required him.
Who was his challenger then?
Well,
nobody was challenging him now.
And at the end of the day, we're told that he scored 40 million plus votes.
Did he get 40 million votes in the election? In the election. So all these things, it's just like walking to an answer. So I believe very strongly that this is one area where the Electoral Act needs to be relooked at by the time we have the opportunity, maybe in the 11th Assembly, because from the experience of what is happening now, we should see that it is creating so much chaos, so much uncertainty, in the choice of candidates for political parties.
All right. We'll come back to that point. We'll use it as our takeoff point when we come back after this break, because I will be asking you then whether you have also identified similar areas in the Electoral Act that you also still need to take a second look at. Because before the Electoral Act was declared as a done deal, there were attempts by the House to still try to amend some sections, but the Senate didn't concur to that. This happened after President Tinubu had actually signed the bill. All right. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back, and our guests will still be here with us.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
All right, welcome back from that short break. Our guest is still here, Honorable Bamidele Salam, member House of Representatives, representing Ede North, Ede South, and Egbedore, Ijigbo Federal Constituency area of Osun State. In the House of Representatives is also the chair House Committee on Public Accounts. Let's quickly round off on the issue of party management and the primaries. Okay. Before I come to the issue I mentioned before we went on that break, you'll be contesting, you'll be seeking re-election. Okay. And let us know again when the primaries are coming.
It's the 29th of May. Yeah. That's Friday of next week.
29th, okay. You are having all the primaries in one day. That's
the Senate and the House of Reps. But I think the House of Assembly is about 26 or 20. No, it's 26th.
The House of Assembly will come first.
Yeah, it will come first.
Okay.
On the 26th, and you know there's Salah on the 27th and 28th. So the National Assembly primary is the one on the 29th.
Okay. All right. We can only wish you luck from here.
Thank you very much.
And you deserve the election anyway.
Thank you.
Because of the good work that you have been doing in the House.
Thank you.
Right. We were talking about the Electoral Act and the area that we have identified already because it has been operationalized and you have seen the problem, the challenges that it has thrown up. Yes. Are there other areas that you have identified?
All right.
We were trying to amend the Electoral Act after the president had signed. The House tried to amend.
Okay, but before then, you know, you spoke about when we had these two versions by the Senate and the House of Reps, and we were trying to do an harmonization before we eventually came back to now, you know, pass the same version. Well, if you look at it, there are a number of issues that we as members of the Minority Caucus identified. The one we just spoke about, the method of conducting primary is one. We also had a very serious disagreement on the issue of the mode of transmission of results, asking that the proviso, which also gave some discretion, that when result could not be transmitted electronically, resort to be made to the manual.
Resort to be made to the
manual, yes.
That political party agents have.
Yeah. Now, you know, we had problems with that because
what is the problem?
Well, the problem is that, you know, the major area where problems happen when it comes to a result is collation. And when you say that when you cannot do electronic transmission, electronic collation, result to manual, you already leave a room for people who do not mean well for the system to say, oh, after all, the law allows us to do this. And then they sabotage the electronic process, one way or the other. Now, every human element in an election is open to manipulation, no doubt. But the benefit of having these advancements we have in technology today is for us to be able to do things in a more seamless, in a more transparent, in a more credible manner. We have done that in the banking sector. We have done that in almost every other sector. Why shouldn't we do it?
Yeah, but if we are still struggling with it, should we tie the fate of our electoral system to something that we know we have not overcome? You and I know that, for instance, you may want to send money to somebody right outside this premises, maybe in front of this building, for instance, and you are trying and it's not going. And you call the person, okay, I'm trying, but I don't know whether it's the network of your bank, but just don't worry, you will get it. And then you get out of this place, miraculously, it goes. And that's what the Electoral Act, the way you have passed it, that's what is anticipating that. It does not mean that you will not send that report, that result, electronically. Well, but if pending when you will get to a place where network
the Electoral Act does not say that. I mean, that's
implication.
Well, you are saying implication, but those who want to
and that's what has been happening.
Those who want to do strict interpretation of the law will not look at it that way. They will rather prefer that electronic transmission was not possible. We are making resort to the manual copies of the collation.
Let me throw in my own understanding.
Okay.
What it means is that I am the returning officer. I have tried to use I've snapped the result. Meanwhile, the result was already agreed to by all the party agents present, right?
Assumedly, yes.
Not assumedly, that's the process.
Yes, it is the process.
And all the party agents will sign.
But do you know party agents at times don't sign result sheets?
I'm just telling you what the law provides.
Yes, the law does not mandate party agents to sign.
It mandates them.
No, it does not.
It does.
It does not. It's not shall. It's not shall. You may not sign.
If you don't want to sign,
yes,
you cannot have an election where you have at least 19 political parties contesting, and you don't have at least majority of them signing.
Yes, it's possible that you have majority of them signing.
Exactly. So if majority of them sign a result sheet, it is after they have signed that the electoral officer is even permitted to snap. So he's snapping a result sheet that party agents have signed. So it can be tracked. So if a court, for instance, has an agent in the particular polling unit, He's expected.
Let me give an hypothetical case where you are.
He's expected to take that result sheet and give to the party agent that is at the collation, the next collation level, which is at the ward.
So have you not seen a situation where the party agents have a different result sheet, and what you have at the collation center is entirely different from what the party agents have?
Six political parties. I'm saying political parties.
Now talk about they are all human element, and there is no nation that has adopted e-transmission of voting or result where there is 100%. India is a very good example. India's voting population is almost 7 times our voting population, and they have been using electronic voting and transmission for the past 19 years.
The attitude to election is different from ours.
But
the attitude to election as a people, not as electoral body.
Now that attitude is where the problem is. That's where the problem. That is where the problem is. That's where the law.
The peoples are different.
I agree with you.
The people in Nigeria are completely different from the people.
I agree with you. That is why the law must not leave room for discretion. In fact, that's the more argument.
The law is for the people.
To support a strict adherence to the adoption of technology in terms of our result. But don't let us even veer off. What I'm saying is, unless that is even tried now,
suppose we remove
that is even tried now, we cannot even say whether it has worked or not.
Okay, suppose we remove that proviso there now,
yes, please,
and bind the hand of the electoral officer to that singular option.
Yes.
That after the party agents have signed the result
after
sheet,
the conclusion of the election, the counting of the vote, and the recording of the vote,
the result sheet, and the party agents signed the result sheet.
I'm telling you that the party agents are not under obligation. It's not in the law that they have an obligation to sign. It is required, but it's not sharp, because they know that there are times when some party agents.
Why wouldn't political parties also share the responsibility?
Because they are not.
Why wouldn't political parties also share the responsibility of ensuring that those
but you just said now that
are people who are committed party agents and know the rules?
No, a party agent. Look, some party agents, even when they go to a particular polling unit and they see what the results are, they even leave the party.
They are not committed party agents.
Oh no, they are well. Even some candidates will tell their party agents that leave the blame here. Don't sign.
Because when we look at the electoral process and why we are having problems, there's enough blame to go around. Instead of just packaging all the blames and putting it on INEC.
No, I'm not doing that. In fact, let me tell you the truth.
So let
me tell you my own opinion. If the blame for whatever problem we have in the electoral is 100,
yes,
we the politicians take 75%.
Good.
The other two go to INEC and security agents.
We are the first person
that is the truth.
This program,
because it is the truth. The politicians are the one that will sit down with the law and look for loopholes or what they can exploit so that they can rig election. That is the plain truth. But if you make that difficult by having a law that is cast almost in iron, then you remove the place for discretion. That's exactly what I'm saying. It is the politician that tries to manipulate INEC. It's the politician that goes to manipulate security agencies and want to bribe them and tell them that you chase away people from polling units.
Is it possible to have a law made for humans to be cast in iron? Because even the constitution of the country is not cast in iron.
I'm not saying
that's why you have a provision. You have a provision in the constitution that says you have right to life.
If you look at
and you go for that,
Mr. Oliver,
life can be taken.
Do you know that
on account of
it was the introduction of the smart card reader for the 2011 election that made that election to be the election with the least number of litigation. 2011 election had the least number of post-election litigation in the history of Nigeria, only because we had a smart card reader. Before then, of course, I could take 100 voters card, give all my people to come and vote. But you know what? Immediately after that election, those who do not mean well for the country sat down and began to identify the loopholes and see how they can bypass, the smart card reader. Then they say, okay, where the smart card reader does not work, resort to incident form. So they will now go and sabotage the smart card reader. It doesn't work. So they do the incident form so that they can do manual voting. Before we now had beavers and whatever. So we continue to improve. But the truth, and this is where I agree absolutely with you, is that we need a change of attitude.
As a people,
we don't need to have this do or die, attitude to election. If it is about service, indeed, If people vote and they don't want to, go home, be your wife, and spend your quality time with your family. If indeed you're meant to serve, you don't need to sit down and start to looking at loopholes and how to manipulate election. And that is our plea, even as we approach the Osun State election, to all political actors. Free and fair election. The president of Nigeria, the DSS, the police, everybody should ensure that the election is free and fair. If we run a free and fair election and we do not, we will go back to our house, we give thanks to God, we wait for another time. But if we win and anybody come to attempt to manipulate it, it will not go well with the person. That is the truth. So everybody should commit to a transparent, free, fair, and credible election. If you do that,
political parties, politicians,
all stakeholders,
security agencies,
oh, yes, sir.
INEC,
yeah.
I've mentioned the political parties and the politicians.
Everybody, including the media.
You know I'm not going to leave the media.
Okay.
The media,
oh, yes.
Civil society,
yes.
and we.
All the stakeholders, we all should just be committed to this.
And unfortunately, what we are talking about here is attitude. And it's not something you can legislate on. You can't legislate good conduct, really. You can only try.
I agree with you, but if a legislation makes the exhibition of bad conduct more difficult, it is easier. If you have a legislation that makes people exhibiting their flaws more difficult, then you are on a safer side, because you know people have a default mode. Maybe their default mode is that of manipulation and whatever you.
Okay, all right. What else do you want us to talk about in that plane before I move to?
No, I just want to say that until after the general election, where this 2026 Electoral Act is
tried out.
It's tried out
in its full.
Oh yes, it may be difficult to know what area to. But I don't also think that we need to be coming at every election cycle
to change the law.
Yeah. And then we change the law too close
to election
election,
so that we don't even understand the language.
You know, at times
and the tenor. You know, there's a difference between the tone
and you know lawyers now.
The tone and the tenor of a law.
And you know lawyers now. That's when they will be bringing in all manner of
when the tone satisfies them, they harp on the tone. They forget the tenor. That the tenor also.
And the judiciary too. We forgot to mention judiciary too.
Yeah,
the judiciary should also be committed to protecting the integrity of the electoral process. It's very, very important.
It's a crucial
very.
All right, so let's talk about your position as chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts. I know that's a very big responsibility. Is that the reason why usually parliaments look in the direction of opposition party to look for who will drive that process, because they want accountability? It's like the means through which the legislature can exercise its oversight on the executive.
Absolutely. It's actually a global practice. In every parliament in the world.
That's why I said parliament.
Yes, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, everywhere, the tradition is to have the member of the minority opposition political party heading the Public Account Committee, because, like you rightly said, that is the committee that checks the books to ensure that there's compliance with financial regulations, with audit regulations, deepening accountability, due process, and what have you. And usually, if you have a majority government also checking itself, that will not, look very good. So that exactly is why members of the minority political party usually heads the Public Account Committee, and I count it a privilege to be so chosen to chair this committee in the 10th House of Representatives of the National Assembly.
I don't. You've put the spotlight on so many hidden funds and all of that. I was listening to a friend not too long ago, and he spoke about oil wells where some companies, I think Shell principally, divested. And the process of handing it over to some other companies under the NNPC has been so opaque, and that today all the monies accruing from those oil wells, and those oil wells are particularly in Akwa Ibom, and that all the monies accruing from those oil wells running into trillions, not in naira, but in dollars, and Nigeria is not getting it, and the person doesn't know whether the NNPC, between those that are managing those oil wells and NNPC, they are the ones that can account for these missing
Quite unfortunate, because almost every year when we receive the report of the Auditor General for the Federation, one of the sectors that has been cited, is the oil and gas industry. And if you recall, 2 years ago, some of the major recoveries that the Public Account Committee, by the way, that's the first time that the Public Account Committee was making recoveries in the National Assembly of close to 300 billion naira. We even made a recovery last week of Yes, another 500 and something million naira. There was outstanding payment on VAT by one of the corporate bodies. The oil and gas sector has always been one of the
these are monies that have been due to Nigeria for
some for 5-6 years, some for 7 years.
Shouldn't they be paying interest when you make those recoveries? Shouldn't they be calculated along with interest?
Yeah, some of them have statutory penalties, like the one that have to do with gas flaring and some other payments, have penalties already built into them. There's another one that has to do with the power sector that we're also handling at the moment, where the Auditor General also identified trillions of naira that have been due to the federal government. And the one with the oil and gas sector is as a result of the fact that even though we passed the PIA, but there are quite a number of the components of the PIA that have not become operational in a manner that will allow for transparency. And until that happens, Nigeria will not get the benefit that we actually deserve from having this rich reservoir of oil and gas as a country. And then the agency, the ministry and agency that are also in charge of providing the immediate oversight need to be more up and doing to ensure that it's not only after the infractions have been committed, because that's another problem. After the commission left the harbor, the auditors will now come in and discover these things, and at times we are pursuing after monies that ought to have been paid, like I just said, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Some of the major operators are already gone. Some have retired. Some of the people who were responsible for the infractions are no longer in the system, and that makes it. And then coupled with the lack of cooperation, even by the entities, the NNPC is the most difficult of the bodies to deal with.
One huge, opaque system.
It's really tough.
We thought that with the PIA, like you said, that we're going to the PIA. Finally, it's a kind of sunshine law that will beam a lot of sunshine on that sector, but that hasn't happened. And it's very sad. You could only see the evidence of Nigeria's oil wealth only in individuals who own yachts all over the place, who own private jets all over the place, who own mansions in big cities of the world.
I agree with you. I so much think that I so much believe that some of the reforms, in place now will help, but we need to do much more. They are still like scratching the surface. We need to be more courageous in doing certain things that will take away. Again, I come back to the issue of discretion. The president has tried to some extent in that regard, taking away some of the discretionary powers of the NNPC and some of the bodies in determining how much comes into the Federation account from the proceeds of the crude oil sale. But there is still a lot that needs to be done if we are to have the full benefit of this very rich resource in the life of the average person in this country.
Let me run through some of the things that research preparing for this program revealed. Oil gas violations, out of total recoveries, 200 billion was recouped from oil and gas firms that defaulted on royalties, concessional rentals, gas flaring penalties, and all of that. I think you touched on that. The Public Accounts Committee recovered 846 million.
Yeah, that's for the
million from Nigeria Investment Promotion Council.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was the issue of operating surplus. There are quite a number of government agencies that are in violation of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which requires them to remit surplus
from the operational,
including, in fact, the major culprit in this regard is the Central Bank of Nigeria. And we have been on this matter now for close.
CBN beyond reproach.
They push back. They push back a lot. I can tell you, for free that the letters we have received from the CBN asking for postponement of hearing, more dates. If I count on the number, must be more than 20. You give them a fresh date for appearance. On that next day, they will bring in a fresh letter asking for a fresh date for appearance, asking for more time to do this and that. And again, as an institution, we also don't want to destabilize the system because knowing the sensitivity of some of these agencies, we don't want to do certain things that can then cast the country in a very bad light and lead to some ripple effects. Because of that, in fact, one of the arguments that they do each time we bring up this issue of the operating surplus is that they spend a lot of money managing liquidity for government, which they need to take out of their operating surplus. And we say, who determines
where you take it out?
Who determines this sum?
Who determines what to take out and how much
it's arbitrary. They just sit down. They just sit down and say the cost of managing liquidity, whatever, for government is this, and then they take it. I would say things cannot
the MDAs
go
are also exhibiting the same attitude. The ministries and departments.
There are a number of very difficult MDAs. I may not want to be mentioning them on air. Who will just constantly, push back on invitations and request for documents
to make them accountable
and whatever. Yeah.
In summary, we still have a long way to go.
We quite have a long way to go. Very long way in every area, especially in our.
So when we put the blame on all of these on just one person, it may not be right. It's systemic and it's institutional in some cases.
It is systemic, but the system is also driven by human beings. The system is driven by people. People should do the needful. They should do whatever they need to do to make sure that our systems improve and we are able to deliver good governance and results.
Good governance as promised.
Oh, yes.
As promised. Because everybody that is in one executive office or legislative office or the other made a promise before getting to that office.
And that promise is the contract.
That people voted for.
Yeah, that's a social contract with the people. Absolutely.
Binding, existing, except that it's not enforceable.
No.
The only way for the next election.
The next election is the time to enforce it. Because people will come back and then we will tell them, when you were going in, this is what you told us.
This is what you have done. 4 years
after, this is what you have done. And then they will show them either the green card or the red card, depending on which one people deserve.
Honorable Salam, thank you so much. I would love to have you
very much.
Very soon.
It's my great pleasure being here.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir.
The wait has been worth the while. Here, waiting for you.
Thank you.
To say yes all these years.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. It's always my pleasure.
I've enjoyed myself.
Always my pleasure to be here, sir. Thank you so much.
Honorable Babidele Salam has been our guest. Honorable Salam is the member of House of Representatives representing Ede North, Ede South, Egbedore, Ijigbo Federal Constituency area of Osun State. I keep emphasizing on that Egbedore for my colleagues who say it's Egbedore. There's nothing like that.
And that's my own local government of the 4. So people should pronounce it well.
That's why I'm happy you emphasize it.
Thank you
so much. Thank you too for investing your time with us on the program today. We really appreciate it. I'll see you around. My name is Benga Oliver.
At an undisclosed location in South Africa's northwest province, these rhinos are being prepared for life in the wild. That's under a scheme by conservation NGO African Parks to rewild 2,000 captive-bred white rhinos. It's a move that could boost the world's wild southern white rhino population by up to 15%. African Parks project manager Donovan Juice said the aim is to rewild around 200 rhinos per year over the next 10 years to various protected areas across Africa.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime de-risking effort from a conservation initiative at scale that's never happened before. So I think for the species, it's a massive opportunity.
The rhinos were bought from private breeder John Hume. He sold the animals because of the high cost of protecting them. Poaching remains a severe threat in South Africa. 499 were poached in 2023, according to government data, an increase from the year before. Rhinos are targeted for their horns, which are in demand in East Asia for traditional medicines and jewelry.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, AIT_live, and AIT Livestream 1 on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
At Shabindo Camp outside Goma, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, has set up tents where dozens of displaced persons are being processed. They can also participate in listening sessions with psychologists. Rose has been receiving care for depression. She blames the war for her mental state, but says her journey to recovery has begun.
When someone flees war, they are very disturbed, and that was my case too. But here we have been taught how to forget everything we've left behind and how to calm our thoughts.
Rose is not alone. According to MSF, living in camps around Goma is a challenging environment for the hundreds of thousands of displaced people, especially women. Every day, medical staff say about 70 female survivors of sexual assault visit the 6 MSF health facilities in camps near Goma. Faustin Hakizimana is the head of Bulengo camp. He says the need for psychosocial support is more urgent than ever.
When we looked into the real problem, we found out that many have been disturbed by the horrors of war and others have been raped when they look for wood in the forests, which is why so many women here suffer of mental illness.
Gerlas Mulekia, a clinical psychologist with Médecins Sans Frontières at the Lushagala camp, says more help is needed.
Most of the people we see show signs of anxiety and post-traumatic problems. We run 3 group sessions a day, and each group is made up of 10 people, for a total of 30 people a day. If it goes on like this, we'll need to expand the activities to try and meet as many of the needs as possible.
Psychosocial care is available to both genders, but officials say most of the people taking advantage of the services are women whose mental health challenges are impacting their ability to care for their children. Zanem Netizaidi, VOA News, Goma.
U.S. seeks major NATO reforms and urges allies to boost defense spending. Israel and Lebanese authorities agree to implement ceasefire. State Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the Trump administration has no intention of withdrawing from NATO, reaffirming Washington's commitment to the alliance. At the same time, he stressed the administration will press for what he called significant changes, urging member states to boost defense spending as part of a broader push for a rebalanced transatlantic security partnership.
Speaking at a congressional hearing, Rubio said U.S. President Donald Trump plans to attend the NATO Leaders Summit scheduled for July 7 to 8 in Ankara, Turkey, where he will outline Washington's position on NATO reform. Meanwhile, the U.S. European Command said in a social media post on Wednesday that Pentagon officials have informed allies that Washington will adjust its contributions to NATO forces in accordance with burden-sharing requirements set out in the 2026 National Defense Strategy and the Defense Department's vision for NATO 3.0. NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe and Commander of U.S. European Command, General Alexis Grynkewicz, said Washington has made clear that the alliance has become overly dependent on U.S. military forces, a situation that must change. He said the planned adjustments are intended to ensure that NATO no longer relies excessively on U.S. capabilities. He added that given the possibility of simultaneous conflicts emerging in multiple theaters, such changes are necessary. At a NATO defense ministers meeting held in Brussels, Belgium in February this year, U.S. Under-Secretary of War for Policy, Elbridge Colby, said Washington seeks to advance NATO 3.0, an alliance built on partnership, not dependency.
The National Secretary General spokesman Stefan Dujarric has warned of the surging number of internally displaced people within Lebanon due to rising tensions along the Lebanese-Israeli border. Dujarric told a press conference that in Beirut's southern suburbs alone, approximately 200,000 people have been forced to flee their homes due to Israeli evacuation orders. Refugee camps are overcrowded and the situation is extremely dire. He said the flames of war have severely damaged the local healthcare system and the safety of medical personnel cannot be guaranteed.
The escalating intensity and growing number of IDF strikes in the South Lebanon alongside continuing launches by Hezbollah are all deeply alarming and, of course, heighten the risk of even further escalation. We call on all parties to exercise maximum restraint, respect the cessation of hostilities arrangements, and fully comply with their obligations under Resolution 1701.
The UN interim force in Lebanon said the Israeli military recently intensified its military operations in Lebanon and increased the scale of airstrikes, with the situation at risk of spiraling out of control. In response, the UN issued a serious warning demanding an immediate cessation of hostility and the full implementation of obligations under the relevant UN Security Council resolution. And Israel and Lebanon agreed on Wednesday to implement a ceasefire, according to a joint statement released on the day following trilateral negotiations in Washington, D.C., the United States. The ceasefire is contingent on a complete cessation of Hezbollah fire and the evacuation of all Hezbollah operatives from the South Litani sector, said the statement issued by the two countries and the United States.
Israel and Lebanon also agreed to advance the creation of pilot zones in Lebanon, where the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah will be excluded. In a statement which was issued at the end of the fourth round of the U.S.-mediated high-level talks held at the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C., in all the pilot zones, Lebanese armed forces will take exclusive control of the territory to the exclusion of all non-state actors. The fifth round of high-level talks between Israel and Lebanon, with a view toward reaching a comprehensive agreement, has been scheduled to be held later this month. Meanwhile, Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Thursday that his country will continue its operations on the ground in southern Lebanon for the time being, despite the agreement, and continue to dismantle terrorist infrastructure in the area. The defense minister said that the Israeli troops will remain in the security zone up to the yellow line. a self-declared Israeli military buffer zone stretching roughly 5 to 10 kilometers north of the internationally recognized border. He said Israel has the freedom of action backed by the United States to strike Beirut in response to attacks on Israel.
And from Israel and Lebanon ceasefire, we move on to Iran, where Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei on Thursday called on Iranians to preserve unity and mutual respect in a bid to stop the enemy's plot to destabilize the country. Khamenei said everyone should neutralize the enemy's plot through steadfastness, foresight, preserving unity and mutual trust, and not echoing the enemy.
Khamenei said in a written message, which was read on his behalf during commemorations marking the 37th anniversary of the passing of Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic. Mojtaba Khamenei has not appeared in public since he took office in March. He succeeded his father, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed on February 28 in the joint military strikes launched by the United States and Israel. It's reported on the same day that U.S. President Donald Trump has told aides privately that he would consider ending the ceasefire with Iran if Tehran kills American troops. A day earlier, Trump said talks with Iran are going very well and the U.S.-Iran ceasefire that took effect in early April remains in place despite recent strikes in the region, suggesting that it is possible an interim deal could be reached over the weekend as the ongoing talks are advancing. Iran's naval forces have targeted the command center on a U.S. destroyer in the Gulf of Oman in response to U.S. violations of the regulations of the Strait of Hormuz and its hostile actions against Iranian vessels, state-run IRIB TV reported Wednesday. Minutes later, the U.S. Central Command denied the claim on X.
And now to China, where it says it opposes all forms of unilateral restrictions, including the series of trade restrictions imposed by the United States under the pretext of forced labor. And this was said by the Ministry of Commerce spokeswoman